free agency, draft prospects, combine meetings. We got you covered and smothered over here at the Nomad Network. Hit the subscribe button, man. What y'all doing? Yo, Nomaniacs, Super Nomaniacs, and all in between. Welcome to another edition of Nomad at Night, where we get into this Bears stuff, man. It's been a great offseason, a busy one for us, and a fun one too. You know, this is the fun part of the season for me. I'm not saying that the actual season isn't fun. It just hasn't been fun for the last couple of years.
Yeah, you are saying that. That's exactly what
right now. Right now, the prospects. I'm really deep into it, man. I'm really deep into it, and to know that the Bears are really targeting a bunch of guys that we've been profiling over here at the channel is rewarding, to say the least. It's a lot. I could say superlatives behind that, but I'm not going to do that. And you know, it's fun. You know what I mean? I like watching tape. You know, I'm just one of them. I'm nerdy, like mathematicians like science and doing numbers. I like football. I love football film and evaluating talent, and I hope it comes through on the network, man. So hopefully we're doing our job over here at the network. They say the offseason is a boring part of the year. I'm doing my part over here, and we're doing our part over here to change that narrative. It can be as fun as you guys make it, and you guys are helping us along the way, you know, giving me information, telling me, you know, giving us thoughts and ideas on where to go, what player to look at. I get comments every day after one of these shows or after one of the videos I do. So thank you to you guys out here always giving us feedback, man. It's been fun, and I hope you guys are getting your stomach full of the content, because there's a whole bunch more coming, man. It's so many players, kids, to talk about. I've gotta open up a lane over here so we can talk about some more unheralded guys. You know, some of these, like I did one on a UDFA today, Philip Webb out of Jackson State. Hopefully you guys saw that video. But that guy's a player. He got signed by LSU coming out of high school. He's a stud. You know, you find yourself at one of those schools like that, and you're surrounded by a whole bunch of A+ talent. You're going to struggle to get on the field. Not that you don't have the right talent to get on the field. It could be a whole bunch of things. You could be undersized when you first get there. You could be, you know, there'd be a whole bunch of reasons why you don't get there. Your grades might not be right. Who knows? But either way, this guy didn't get on the field right away. And, you know, he sat out a year, tried to play part of another year, and then he transferred to Jackson State. And, you know, he's a blue chip talent that ended up at Jackson State and is getting no love. And so we're doing our part. All I'm saying is we're doing our part over here to make sure you know about these guys. And so hopefully you guys are enjoying the content, man, because I know I'm working my butt off trying to give it to you. And so that's that, man. But we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff today. Combine Meetings, you know, free agency. That's important right about now because it is right around the corner, kids. I mean, right around the corner. Like, you're going to probably start hearing news about trade. Like that trade window is really opening right now. Trades are going to start happening. It already happened in Washington. Deebo Samuels got traded from San Fran. All that stuff's going on. So I think the Bears trade window is open. If they're going to make a move of any kind, the window is open now. And so we got all that stuff mixed up into a nice pot of gumbo, combine, free agency, trades, prospects, all that's going on right now. We're going to get into every last bit of it today. But without further ado, let me pass it on to my partner from Canada, man, the Canuck. Give some pleasantries out, man, so we can get cooking.
Yo, what's cracking, all y'all? Shout out to all the Nomaniacs, Super Nomaniacs out there. Give you guys a little bit of love as we do on a Sunday night. It's Nomad at Night. There are guys out there with us. What up, guy? What's popping to my guy, Victor Perez, Monsieur Perez, what it do? Marco King's with us, FFG South, Super Nomaniac, and contributor to the network. Shout out to you. Always love FFG. Illinois Jones, I ain't seen you in a minute. Illy, what's popping? Illy, the Nod, Super Nomaniac, and the Wrench, the Nod is with us. Good to have you, brother. Good to have you. Bob Keller's back. What it do, Bob? Hey, man. Combine weekend, y'all. Hopefully you guys were paying attention. I have my nachos going, a little bit of chips and dip going, watching a little bit of the grown man Olympics, underwear Olympics, if you will. It was pretty decent. I will say there's interesting things to say about the whole foray. Shout out to Bears Junkie and the Shy and Black Diamond who's just jumping in. Liberty's Outlook. But like Combine, in my opinion, was a little bit lackluster this year. Major reason is, a lot of the little back and forth me and Nomad had about the Combine kind of came to fruition this time around. And I remember when I was a little shit, and I used to watch this thing, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome to see these young superstars perform and how they did and how much they gave a damn about their performance. I'm not so sure it's the same anymore. It's just the feeling wasn't like it was when I was a little guy, except from the guys who were there who were like, yo, when I was a little guy, I love this. And it's been my dream to get here and do this thing as part of my NFL experience. And you kind of saw that from certain players who were out there. But again, really what I'm getting at is a lot of the tippy top guys that that folks are talking about and aiming at just didn't even participate really at all. They were on the sidelines cracking jokes and smiling, Shadur, you know what I mean? Like that's most of the guys that you're really interested in seeing how they would perform in a foray like this just flat out didn't perform. So how it all shook out to me was that there's sort of a log jam, as we would say in Canada, because all the logging and shit that goes on here. Anyways, there's a bit of a log jam, man. What up, Minister Charles? What up, Mr. Mayhem? Good to see you guys. Basically, what I mean by a log jam, there's a lot of similar talent in the top 150 picks in multiple positions. There wasn't a lot of elite in my their guy Nick. Yeah, Nick Manwari did show out. There wasn't a lot of guys who were really showing out, but the guys who did. Nick Manwari is one of those guys. Pierce Jr., if I'm getting that right, Pierce Jr., defensive end, he showed out. There was just a few guys who really showed out. Tyleek Williams, he showed out. Couple guys on the offensive line as well. Gray Zabel, he showed out. There's just a few guys, but for the most part, log jam at each one of these positions, which in my opinion is actually awesome. And why I say that is if you've got a stockpile of picks in the first 150, you can really retrofit your team. You can get quality starters for your team. So that's really what I expect for the Chicago Bears as we move forward.
You know what, man?
Show it out too. Yeah, sorry, man.
I again, man. I've seen a little bit of it. I've seen some of the Fat Boys run. I saw some DB40s. I wasn't surprised by any of it. I'm not surprised by any of it. Even the ones that didn't participate, I understand. I have no qualms with them about not participating whatsoever. I made my point clear on that a few times on the show. I expected a lot of those guys to be running fast and jumping high and doing all that. Nicky Manori, I told you guys he's a monster. Told you he's a monster. Tyleek, told you he was a monster. I am enjoying seeing what I've seen on film, kids, is basically
their guy.
Huh?
Their guy nailed it. In my opinion, the draft officially starts at the beginning of the second round. You nailed it, Derek, for sure.
Yeah, buddy. He's not. There's no BS right there. That's real. That's very real. And so, what I'm thinking the whole time watching all these prospects and whatever I saw in the combine, and I'm seeing people hemming and hawing over what to do, who to draft first with that first pick. Man, that's really nothing. They're gonna get a good player at 10 if they stay there. If they move down a few spots, they're gonna get a really good player. You can't really miss unless you're just really numb-headed and you don't know what you're looking at. But I'm telling you guys, from the first round to the seventh round, they are really good football players and potential starters, even all the way to the seventh round. You just got to know what you're looking at. You just got to know what you're looking at. And so we don't do all this content and I'm not doing all these videos pointing out these guys for nothing, man. We trying to get you guys to go check them out for yourself and come up with your own judgments about what you're seeing. Combine is great. I'm more interested in what they're finding out in these interviews, and if they're leaning towards a guy, did the interview process turn them off? That's some of the stuff we're gonna never really know about, but I'm interested in to know. You know what I mean? Some of the guys that they brought in, and I'll pull up that list here in a minute. Only I can get the most updated list I can find for the combine meetings is 4 days ago. Now, kids, if you can find something more updated than that, great. But that's all I got. The A to Z Sports one that I seen a few days ago, that was it, man. And I think Kyle Williams and Xavier Restrepo were the last two guys on the list.
Say again, what are you looking for?
The updated version of the interviews at the combine. Chicago Bears interviews at the combine. There's a list out there.
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't have access to that. I might though. I know the NFL sort of changed how they manage the combine. There's a lot more analytics there, so that might be available on NFL.com. I haven't taken a look just yet to see who the Bears have actually talked to. I don't know. I know there was a heavy presence from the Bears today because today was the offensive lineman. And they talked about the Bears quite a bit today, just off the cuff. Daniel Jeremiah, etc., and Rich Eisen. But it was really interesting, man. There is a lot of talent in this draft. Like it's funny for me to say that there's a log jam, but it's the talent is high.
Where?
Say what?
A log jam at what position?
And at most positions, though, it's kind of interesting, man. At most every position, there's a log jam. And I'm not saying that there's an extensive amount of talent at every position now. It's a little bit different. But I'm going to say the top four of just about every position, we'll say that there's one elite player at each position. And then, from pick number 2 to maybe pick number 7, you can really get a quality player. And that's crazy. Like, I haven't really said anything like that about every position in the draft. Like, here's a for instance. So one of the things that they noticed, a couple of things that was noticed this weekend. The first one being, this was the fastest collective of running backs that they've ever had on average. So the even though Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton didn't work out with these guys, the rest of them were awesome, and you'd be surprised at how awesome they were. Maybe you wouldn't, because we've been talking about how much of a logjam there is at the running back position, but that also goes for the wide receiver position too. There's a bunch of solid wide receivers. But maybe Emeka Egbuka stands out because, again, he was the one guy who didn't practice. But the rest of them were similar. The amount of guys who were running at about 4.40 and 4.5. So 4.40 and 4.45 is astounding. So again, one more time, they turned around and this is also the fastest collective of wide receivers we've ever seen at the combine. Just interesting little things to note, man. If you want a fast receiver this time around, you're going to find it. Not tight end and not safety. Thank you. Like, those are probably the two positions where things get a little bit, where there's much less of a logjam. There's one elite safety, right? And then there are, 2 blocking safeties and two receiving safeties. Like, there's 5 of them. After that, you're cooked.
I would beg to differ with so much of what you just said.
Really?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is probably one of the better safety classes I've seen. Number one, this is one of the better tight end classes that I've seen. What they do at the combine is one thing. You might have a guy that might say, all right, I ain't running the 40. I'll do all the, drill work and all that kind of stuff, and I ain't running the 40. You might have a guy that wants to run the 40 and don't want to do drill work. So basically how to measure these guys. If you're doing it with the metrics you've seen at the combine, it's only a limited perspective, and I'm not trying to put you down, but looking at them on film, I'm telling you, those position groups are loaded. I can't get enough of the safety group. I can't lie to you, dude. The safety group is so damn thick. I mean, that group is thick. You know, you got your Nick Eamon Warriors of the world, you know, your Caleb Downs, you got my guy out at Oklahoma, Lathan Ransom, you got Malachi Starks. The safeties are loaded, kids. I mean, they're loaded. You know, what they did at the combine is one thing, but what you see on film is absolutely dynamite, dude. This class, you have to be pretty much Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, not to get a good safety out of this draft if you need one. That's how thick it is.
I disagree. Well, just again, you're talking tape, so you're gonna have a bit of a different view than me for sure.
Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. That's another one. Thank you, Nod.
No, Watts was nice. There was only so Nick stood out among the crowd at safety, followed by Xavier Watts, followed by Lathan Ransom. Like, these are things that we probably could have called. You know what I'm saying? Like, we probably could have called this already. But that's and Jonas Sanker. Jonas Sanker also stood out to me.
You know, we did him over here, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Jonas Sanker did stand out to me at the safety position. Jalen Reed was okay, but for the most part, it's only those four that I would be looking for if we're talking about safety. With Nick Eamon being way up here, personally, I'm going to have to go back and compare film between Jonas Sanker and Lathan Ransom, because at this present time, I lean more towards Jonas Sanker. That's just me. He looked really nice in movement, in space, in those drills. Have to say that, and I say that in comparison to what I saw from Lathan Ransom. That's just me. Now I gotta do film now. So that I'm at that point where now I've seen these guys perform at the combine. I now got to double back and see which guys that actually stood out to me. How do they what do they look like on film? So I try to narrow my stuff down that way, as opposed to watching everything. Whereas you kind of watch all of the film on all these guys, and you make an opinion that way. And to be honest with you, that's probably the better way to do it. I just only have so much time in a
day. Hey, you know what though, man, kids, it's worth it. It's really worth it, because I'm telling you, I see so many things. Like look, just for instance, looking at with the guys you see on the thumbnail are Dalman, Aaron Banks, and who's the other guy? Will Freeze. So I got a chance to check them out a little bit before the show came on. You know, I can't sit around and tell you that I've been watching a whole bunch of other teams, you know, players, you know, on film. I don't have time for that shit. But I did make sure that I tried to take a look at a reps from one game for each one of those guys. And I didn't get to all of Aaron Banks's, but I seen enough to be able to be qualified with a few statements. But it gives you so much dexterity when you start talking about these guys. When you see their stuff on film, the consistency show up, inconsistency show up, their shortcomings. You know, I mean, different things. They've got a weight problem. You think that's one of those guys that, okay, hopefully he can get a little bit bigger. Do you see a problem with his play strength when he's going against the top competition? And so there's so many different things you can find out watching film, and hopefully you'll check some of these guys out. I hope they got you intrigued enough where you spend some time in a day to check them out. I mean, I think that would be great. Now
that I've narrowed things down, I'm going to have to, because again, I had certain preconceived misconceptions on a lot of especially the O-line trench. I'm going to have to really dig deep to see what I want to see there.
Did you see the centers run?
Yeah,
lineman run. Those centers, the ones, there's two of them in particular that we pointed out: Eli Cox and Drew Kendall. Eli Cox from Kentucky, Drew Kendall from Boston College. Those motherfuckers rolling. I was like, holy shit! I didn't know they can move that fast.
that was actually one of the things that jumped out to me. Shout out to Derek Guy. You're right. Jalen Reed was nice at safety too. I kind of purposefully ignored saying his name, but it's true. He was nice too. But back to centers. Bro, centers jumped out. Your boy Cox was great. He was actually really good. Who else was really good that jumped out to me that I had not checked out?
I would
I
bet
think
Drew
it's
Kendall.
Jacob Gideon.
Drew Kendall probably. Jacob Gideon. I'm trying to remember. Well, I got so many goddamn players in my head. Trying to remember. That might not be. You sure it wasn't a Lickman? I don't know. I got so many of them.
I think it's Jacob Gideon, man. I think it was Jacob Gideon. Jared Wilson looked great across the board, without question. Without question, speedster. Well said, Victor Perez. He jumped out across the board. Jake Majors looked good.
Yeah, we did him on one of our.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was kind of surprised and I'm looking at where these guys are projected right now. Most of these guys are projected beyond 150.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Illy, what are you talking about? He says, I'm not saying they won't get drafted, but saying it's a deep class is ridiculous. I'm trying to get at
what, center?
I think he's talking about the safeties. I think he's talking about the safety. You talking about the safeties, Illy? Oh, I can do a goddamn show and show you. I can point them all out. And there's probably talking about safeties. Now, there's a difference now. You're talking about box safeties. You're talking about free safeties. You're talking about combo safeties that can play high and low. There's a difference between them all. Like the safety class is so, I'm telling you, there ain't enough draft picks to get all these good safeties out there. I'm telling you right now, Illy, I can tell you this is a way better safety class than even the one I saw last year.
No, it's not.
I'm telling you.
No, it's not. Like, now I have to watch safety film. If you're saying that, now I have to watch safety film.
I give you a
film
short
last year was crazy good. Honest to God. I was kind of mad that we were sort of set at safety and there was really no likelihood that we were going to go get a safety last season. Deep into maybe the 6th round, the safeties were nice last season. I can't say that for this season. I can't, especially from what I saw
2 weeks ago. Up until 2 weeks ago, nobody damn knew about Jonas Sanker.
Nobody
knew about that guy.
Yeah,
all of a sudden, we do him on the show, and all of a sudden, that was 2 weeks ago we did Jonas Sanker, and he shows up at the combine. The dude's an athletic freak.
He is, and he showed. But this is what I'm saying. He showed that today. He showed that this weekend. So did Xavier Watts. Lathan Ransom, I expected more. I'll be honest with you. He looked okay. I expected more. Jalen Reed, in my opinion, was probably came off as much more of an athletic freak than even Lathan Ransom did. I have to put that out there as well. Just from what I was looking, I would say, in my opinion, the top 5 safeties, starting with Nick Emanwari, Xavier Watts following right behind, Jalen Reed, Jonas Sanker, Lathan Ransom. Those would be my top 5.
I'm telling you right now, there's guys that you probably, I don't know if Caleb Downs or the safety from Oklahoma showed up even there to even work out. There's guys like him, those 2 guys as safeties. Man, dude, I'm gonna probably have to do a show just for the safeties, man. I'm telling you, I think it's rich. When I say it's rich, there is some dogs out there. There's some dogs out there. Some of them at smaller schools, but there are some absolute dogs at safety. I mean, it's top heavy. There's about 5 to 10 guys, maybe 7 guys that most people know about. But I am telling you, dude, this motherfucker has a plethora of really strong safeties in it, man. We probably need to slow down and do a safety show so I can just identify them all for you. You guys can go look at the tape if you want to see it. But I'm telling you, it's loaded, bro. It's loaded. It's probably one of the more loaded positions that I've seen this offseason. Offensive line is loaded. Offensive line at all positions is loaded.
I don't know, man.
I'm telling you.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm so again. Center came off surprisingly well to me. It came off surprisingly well. I was quite impressed by center. Strangely, I got to say it. The guards was a complete logjam. Like, it was a total logjam. Who jumped out? Like, Tate Ratledge jumped out. Miles Frazier did not come off as nice as I expected. I'll be honest with you.
He's
Your guy,
330 something pounds, man.
I understand that, but it wasn't. I'm not just looking at it. I'm not just looking at the one drill, right? I'm not just looking at you know what I mean. I'm not just looking at the 40. It, to be quite frank, it's probably the drill that I care the least about. Like at guard, right? I want to see them move. I want to see them get upfield. I want to see their feet. You know, I want to see the way that they move, how agile they are. And again, he's a big boy, right? He is a big boy. He's not quite as agile as I would like at the position. So I was just a little bit let down. I was a little bit let down by the by the offensive line today. And that being said, I have to now go back. I have to now double back and look at some of their tapes for some of the guys who did jump out and stood out to me.
Who comes to mind first that, you know, looking at the offensive lineman?
Offensive line. So I'm going to talk about guys like Armand Membu. He looked great. Ariante Ursary, he looked great. Jonah Savaia looked all right. Gray Zabel looked fantastic. Marcus, I believe it's just Marcus Bow.
Yeah.
They don't pronounce the M. Marcus Bow looked really good. These are all potentially tackles here. Holland Pierce looked okay. Anybody else jump out to me? Hold on a minute. At the tackle position. Carson Vincent looked good, bro. Like I gotta give a shout out to our girl out there. Man, anyhow, he looked pretty decent again for somebody who's going to be a late round player. Caleb Rogers didn't look bad either. Again, late round selection. Anybody else really jump out to me at tackle? I think that's sort of the bulk of the tackles that really look nice to me. John Williams didn't look bad either. He didn't look bad at all, actually, John Williams. Jalen Rivers didn't look bad either. Now, when I'm saying these names here, the guys who were projected within the top 150, like Kelvin Banks Jr. looked all right, and he's a top selection. I would, in my opinion, I would look at an Armin Membu. I would look at an Ariante Ursary. I would look at a Jonah Savaia.
Did you check out Jalen Travis White? Go says that he said he could move and had a nice vertical. That's the one that I've been trying to point out.
He's athletic, bro. Like I have to sort of throw that one out there too. Again, and he was very athletic. Yeah. At the tackle position, it was a little bit more effective. It's a little bit deeper than I found the guard position. I expected it to be the other way around. But yeah, the tackle position wasn't too shabby either. Jalen Rivers, I'm not sure if I mentioned Jalen Rivers. He looked pretty nice out there too. So yeah, man, there was at this particular position at tackle, there's a logjam. There's a large group of them that are pretty solid, again, at the tackle position. But then when I go to guard, it starts to slim a little bit. Now, before I get into that as a list, a lot of the tackles that I just listed will be pushed to guard. Holland Pierce has me really intrigued.
That is, let me stop you right there, Kez, because that's a very important point that you just made. And I don't know that you purposely did that, but that's one of the things that I've been doing lately is, you know, some of the guards that are playing strictly guard in college right now, you can look at them and they're good prospects, really good prospects, and a lot of them too. But some of these guys that are playing tackle, like there's a handful of them. Like, let me pull up a couple of them right now. I still got them in the overlays. Let me pull up a couple of them right now. Like PJ Williams from SMU. That guy is probably going to be a guard, you know, but when you're scouting them, you're looking at tackle play. You know what I mean? But you can see some of the traits and some of the, you know, the measurables, the technique, and his fundamentals. You can see it's going to easily translate into guard.
Easily. UFDA?
Huh?
I think he's a UFDA, bro.
He could be. I don't know. He might get drafted. We don't know where these guys are going to go. Let me see if I got any more in here. I might have rubbed them out already. But here's another guy. I don't even know if he showed up at the combine. This guy, might be a UDFA, but 6'8", 320 pounds. He starts to. You start watching him on film, and I think he's a pure tackle. Ruben Fathery from Texas A&M. But some of these guys, this might not be the best example of what kids are saying, but some of these guys, especially guys like PJ, these guys you might get later on in the draft or even after the draft. These guys can be really, really transformative to your roster if you're willing to see the traits and see how they translate if you kick them inside. These are just a couple of them, man. But there's many, many more, man. Many, many more. But yeah, man. So let me look at this, man. Let me look and show these people what we've done so far as visits go. This is all I know so far. They could have had 10, 15 more of them that I don't know about, but this is what I know about. Let me see. Pull them up. Uh-oh. All right. So far, of course, you got the obvious ones. We did Mike Hill, Williams, Mason Graham didn't feel the need to do them because everybody's talking about him. Hopefully you see this, right, kids?
Yeah.
All right. Jamari Caldwell, again, he's one of those guys we profiled over here 2-3 weeks ago. Didn't surprise me whatsoever. He's one of the better nose tackles in the draft. Of course they're going to bring him in for a visit. We need a nose tackle.
No, it's not by position. Okay.
Jalen McLeod was one of those tweeners. He's about 6'1", 236 pounds, and listed as an edge rusher, which is somebody like me that's going through a ton of tape. I don't need to stop and look at a 6'1", 236-pound edge rusher in a 4-3 defense. Now, they're considering him as a linebacker in this defense, a stand-up linebacker, middle, wheel, wherever they want to play him at. Then he gets intriguing, man. He's a missile. He's a straight-up missile, and it's just his impact on the game. You just will feel it the entire time you're watching the film. Jalen McLeod is a missile, just a sure tackler. He's one of those Dennis Allen type of linebackers. I would just say that. Now, he's interesting. Carson Schlesinger, one of the first guys we profiled over here on the Nomad Network, linebacker. And everybody was just like, man, Nomad, we ain't need to draft no linebacker. Well, still got to look at some of the positions, man, in case we do. Like, I spend less time looking at the linebackers and corners than I should, but I got to stop and look at some of them. Carson Schlesinger, the guy right beneath him, Kane Madrano. I think that meeting was about Carson Schlesinger. I think they're buddies, and he met with Kane Madrano just to get a good read on Carson Schlesinger. That guy's a dog. Ashton Genty, no surprise there. Omarion Hampton. Don't know how many people were talking about him before all this stuff started, but we were on him early. Gunnar Hill, tight end out of Texas. Another tight end, Ferguson. I haven't dug into tight ends quite as much as I'm going to. I'm going to get a few more of them on the board. Pretty good tight end. Sebastian Castro, we just did him. He's been on the list for a long time. Andrew Makuba, safety. Those two are safeties, by the way. Sebastian Castro, Andrew Makuba. We did Andrew Makuba on the very first prospect show, I believe, because it was a Texas game or something like that. But we definitely did. We broke down Andrew Makuba, and we're just getting to breaking down Sebastian Castro. Kevin Winston, we did him on the second or third show out of Penn State. Dorian Strong. I don't know anybody else that even knows who Dorian Strong was before we did that show, and we highlighted a bunch of Virginia Tech players, Dorian Strong, Aeneas Peebles, and Dorian Strong is a cornerback, by the way. Aji Trapillo, offensive tackle out of Boston College. Haven't had a chance to do him yet, but his tape is kind of iffy. I got to do some more work on him. Gray Zabel, no surprise there. Josh Simmons, one of the first guys that we did on the prospect show, the Texas Ohio State game. We did a bunch of those guys. Jonah Monahan, offensive lineman out of USC. I'm starting to hear whispers about, they might be looking at him as a center. I'm starting to hear a little stuff like that. Like
that's what he plays, bro.
What's that?
That's what he plays.
Jonah Monahan's not a center.
That's what he's listed as.
That is probably what he's listed at. That's not how I seen him line. Or is he? I got so many damn dudes in my head, Ked. You might be right.
I'm just straightening you out. I'm
right.
He's a center.
You might be right. I'll have to go look at it again. But Will Campbell, of course. Jonah Savanaia. No, I feel like a proud papa, man. Look at where we are. He's one of the guys I first highlighted. I've been watching this guy for 2 years. 2 whole years, and he's finally on the Bears' radar. Donovan Jackson. I think he's going to be a guard on the next level. From Ohio State, we covered him in one of the very first shows. And Tyler Booker, because everybody is covering him, I feel no need to do it. But he's definitely a guy.
Yeah.
Jack Besh, another proud papa moment. Nobody talking about him over here. Xavier Restrepo and Kyle Williams.
So Restrepo didn't perform at all. He was there, but he didn't really perform.
He's not going to test well. I wouldn't perform if I was him either.
Why do you say that?
Because he's not going to test well, kids.
Why?
Because like okay, you watch the guy on tape, kids, and he's nothing remarkable as far as his traits go. He's not fast. He's not strong. He's not big. He's not long. He's not any of the stuff that people measure a really good receiver by. But what he does have is really good hands, really good route tree, and a really good gift of finding open space and making timely ass plays. That's why he's on the list. He's one of those guys in the slot, and you need to route some guys up and really get open for your quarterback and give him somebody to throw the ball to. That's why he's on the list, because he's going to be a quarterback's best friend.
That's exactly what I wanted you to explain, because that's how he came off, right? So the little things that he did do the gauntlet drill, which is just where they throw a bunch of footballs at you and you catch them. And he looked really smooth and nice in that particular drill. And then they overlaid Ladd McConkey and his gauntlet over top of his, and it looked somewhat similar. I can understand Restrepo's pedigree just from what I was able to see. He's not going top 5 wide receivers. Like, I'm just, let's put that out there. He's not. He'll be your solid slot, a fair ways, into a little bit deeper into the second, or maybe a little bit deeper, a little bit earlier into the third. But he would be a nice slot selection. Jack Besh, on the other hand, looked really nice out there. He did.
Not surprising to me.
Yeah, he looked really nice out there. You know who else looked nice out there? Your guy, KLS. Is it KLS?
You talking about Keandre Lambert? Yeah,
KLS. Yeah, he looked nice out there too.
Yeah, he's a bomb. Bomb.com. I apologize about Jonah Monahan. I got so many damn dudes in my head. Y'all have no idea. I got football players swimming in my head, probably like a bowl of alphabet soup in my damn brain. I just watched too much shit, man. I just got Jonah Monahan as a center. Everybody's telling me, making sure, man. I got that wrong. Damn.
It's all good. That's what I'm here for.
Let me pull this down. So yeah, I'm not surprised to the least bit about a lot of these guys. These are, and the beautiful thing is, kids, pretty soon they're going to start itemizing those 30 visits. And so it's going to start to get a couple levels more serious than a combine meeting. You can probably have as many of those as you want, but the 30 visits, when you got to make those visits count, those are going to be the more important things. So when a guy gets called into the building, that's when it's going to get a little bit different. Hit that like, y'all, man. Y'all hit the like button. And anybody watching that's not subscribed, we will be very, very thankful to you guys for hitting that subscribe button. We need your support. Let me see.
You're right, Jedi. I found that the overlay tech is very helpful, just especially when they're not running. You know what I mean? When they're not doing the 40, it takes. If you're looking at the 40, you're looking really obviously for speed and getting an understanding of that. With a guy like Restrepo, who did not run the 40, and you have no idea what his speed caliber is, you kind of get a good understanding of what his, how smooth he is from a route perspective, as well as how good the hands were. So it was, he did perform a little bit. I kind of can't wait to see him at his pro day. But once more, I would be, yeah.
Well, how fast you think Julian Edelman is?
About as fast as Restrepo. Like, that's a good comp, bro. It's a good.
If that guy ran a 4.6, I'll fall out my damn chair.
That's a comp, right? Like Ladd McConkey is a comp. I would say Julian Edelman he's a tried, true, and tested slot receiver. He ain't a burner. He's not Tyler Scott in the slot. He's Julian Edelman in the slot. Great hands. He'll pull the ball down. You know what I mean? Like great route runner. That's what you're gonna get out of him.
Hey, shout out to my guy. I got scrolls, man. Shout out, happy birthday, bro. You old motherfucker. You. I don't know how old you are, but hey, happy birthday. I hope you're having a good time. Man. Have a good time wherever you are, man. Kicking it with the fam, and just make it a good one, man. Make it count, man. Make it a memorable one, man. Make a memory tonight, man. Happy birthday, bro.
Make sure she love you long time, bro.
Yeah, man. But yeah, it's like the like Restrepo.
Yes,
I'm 100%. I'm 100% certain that whoever drafts that kid, and you are in need of a slot receiver, I mean, that dude is tough as a goddamn $2 steak kid. That dude is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, tough. And sometimes it's more of that and your ability to be able to get separation, be able to sit down in zones and make yourself available for a young quarterback that needs some insurance. It's clear to me, like Jack Best can probably play some slot too. He's the only other receiver of that little trio that's not a slot receiver.
Yeah.
But I think he can give you slot receiver reps. But he's going to be solid for a long time. All three of those guys. I got nothing but 100%, not because of the fact that we profiled them, but I look at the tape and I know those are quality. So whoever, they're doing a good job at identifying talent in the building right now. The guys I've seen on that list, I'm like, not a one of them I can say, like, what the fuck are you doing? Only one that you can think about is like, why is he here? Why are you meeting with him is Jalen McLeod. But for all I know, they're not looking at him as an edge rusher. They're looking at him as a stand-up linebacker. He's a knockdown tackler, man. He's a sure tackler and really impactful on a game. And those are the kind of guys that Dennis Allen likes.
Well, hope to God they don't go get no linebacker. I'll say it again.
They're gonna get a linebacker somewhere. Where they get him, they're gonna get linebackers. They're gonna get DBs, whether you like it or not, dude.
I hope they don't. They don't need them. I'm just saying. You only got a certain amount of picks, and you got a whole bunch of holes. You got to double down in some places, and I'm with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's been a minute where I'm like, oh, I don't know why he doubled down here, and I couldn't understand it. This time around, he has no bloody choice but to double down in a couple of spots, and I can understand doing it this time around because, again, there's sort of a logjam at multiple positions. Let's talk about the position with the biggest logjam, and that's the edge. So there's a really nice about 5 or 6 player top end at the edge. Really nice, right? And again, a lot of these guys weren't out there. So you know what I mean. So anyways, Nick Scorton looked great, smooth. You know who looked like a monster out there?
I'm probably a bunch of them.
All right, so
Landon Jackson.
So Landon Jackson looked like
he is a goddamn monster. Your eyes ain't
a freak of nature at the position. Again, like you know what I mean. I've spent quite some time looking at this particular position because it's a position my son plays. Laz, you got it. He looked like a natural. He came out the womb as a defensive end. You know what I'm saying? Like he came out the womb trying to hunt down a quarterback. That's what he looked like.
I'm pretty sure about Landon. I'm so sure about Landon Jackson. You know, I know that because he got that high ass vertical, got like a 40 and a half inch vertical, I heard. And you know, that's a Myles Garrett shit. You know, they put him in that category. Let me tell y'all guys something. I think he's a surefire. He's about as can't miss a prospect as you can get. Like, I know this he's going to be dynamite on the next level. There's going to be nothing about the next level is going to be any different than the top competition that he faced in the SEC. He's going to be a dominant edge rusher, dude. If we can get our hands on him.
Check it out. This chat, man. This chat great. Landon Jackson looked like Bane, and he kind of does, like in his just without if he had the mask piece on, he kind of Bane. Landon Jackson could be cast as a villain in a movie. These are just some of the things that folks are saying out there about Landon Jackson. He's the target, Laz says. I'm with it, but there's a bunch of these guys. There's a bunch of them. Feel free to tell me James Pierce Jr. didn't like. So you were just hitting a couple of the measurables. James Pierce Jr. I'm pretty sure beats Landon Jackson at all the measurables, bro, which is just crazy to say, including speed. So
not at okay, measurables. What do you mean? You talking about?
Let me rephrase. So if we're talking about arm length specifically, like length, Landon Jackson wins. He just, like I'm saying, he's prototypical edge rusher, period. But James Pierce Jr. is faster. He probably stronger, and he can jump further.
He definitely ain't stronger.
I think he benched. I think he benched him.
Man, that motherfucker ain't stronger than no Landon Jackson. Top to bottom, ain't no hell no. Not
Bro,
even.
James Pierce Jr. is.
You watch him play on tape. You watch him play on tape, and you tell me which one is the strongest. Dude.
I know he's more of a. He's a speed rusher more so than a power. Like exactly. Landon could do both. You know what I mean? Landon could do both. That's why I'm saying he's prototypical.
That's why he's dangerous.
But James Pierce jumped out this weekend. His stock rose. I don't know where his stock was before this weekend, but his stock definitely rose. He came out on fire to show the world he was the guy, and he did a great job. So did Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart looked fantastic out there.
Test well, but his production on the field, I'm telling you, you look at the
not
tape.
Quite the same.
He's going to be the king of the BVD gymnastics. You know what I mean?
Your boy Ja Joyner looked real nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
He looked real nice out there again for a guy you can get probably much later in the draft. Looked real nice. Shoot. The two guys that surprised me in how average they looked was JT and Princely.
JT is coming off. I know for a fact JT is coming off a bad ankle injury.
So JT, I don't think he did very much this weekend at all.
Yeah, I know. I know why.
Yeah, because of the injury. So Princely did not jump out to me, and I was a little bit surprised by that. Donovan Ezeraku looked nice, bro. Jack Sawyer looked nice, bro. Man, I was hoping a little bit more for Kyle Kennard. I didn't see what I wanted to see from Kyle Kennard. Anybody else jump out to me? That's probably the bulk of it. That's probably the bulk of it for me. Like it was a really interesting edge class. That being said, we haven't really talked about Nick Scorton, Mike Green, or Michael Williams at the top of this class, right? Nick Scorton looked good. The rest of these guys I don't believe participated. So I'm gonna say that this class is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hey guys, keep the comments coming. I'm trying to star as many comments to go back to as I can. You guys got questions about? I see already Marlon Johnson asked about Nick Eamon Warriors. A couple of them I started before, but I'm doing all the producing right now, and me and kids both are doing it. But we don't have Nick right now, so we both doing double time trying to talk and keep up with the conversation and try to, look at the chat. So you guys, any questions? We'll try to catch them and star them and get back to them.
Yeah, so like all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deep, in my opinion, at the edge. 10 players deep, and you can get quality at the edge, if not elite, with those first 5 guys. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. That's not including Abdul Carter or James Pierce. So 1, 2.
I know this, man. I think Trapper, who was it this asking? Trapper was asking. I think he was talking about Jonas Savannah. He's talking about the tackle from Arizona. He played right tackle over there.
From where again?
You got to be talking about Jonah at Arizona.
Yeah, that's Jonah Salha. Yeah. Jonah looked good, man. Jonah looked good. He ran it. He moves. He moves. I will be surprised, and this is just me personally. I'll be surprised if he actually winds up playing tackle. I'll be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised, but it wouldn't surprise me any because he's that athletic, man. He's
super athletic, bro.
I try to tell people like that dude is a freak of nature. You shouldn't be that big. That dude is like 335 pounds, 6'5", and moves like he's a damn cat.
Okay, I missed the height. I missed the height. So the height makes up for everything. That means he's longer than he looks. Doesn't look long, which is weird for a guy at 6'5", but he's athletic, bro. He's athletic, man, which jumped out to me in a big way. But yeah, like this, there's so many players that really jumped out. So we just talked about the edge. The edge is almost 15 players deep, in my opinion, to get a game-changing pass rusher. 15 players deep. That's pretty nuts. All of those players are projected for the most part within the top 150. Like they just start top 100 even. At tackle,
I'm telling you, Jalen Travis probably wowed some people. I don't even know if he was there, but if he was there, I'm almost guaranteed.
He was. Travis was there. Carson Vincent was there.
I bet it was a tackle from Florida that was wowing people. I can't think of his name right now. It's a 3-name word. But he's tough, man. He's really tough.
Brandon Crenshaw Dixon.
Yeah, I bet you he turned a few heads down there too.
He didn't jump out to me. I'll be frank about that one. Yeah, like that's this at offensive tackle. Again, you're looking probably about 10 to 15 high caliber players. Some of them are listed again by way of like benchmark ranks. Some of them are benchmark ranked a lot further back than you would expect. Like Vincent is at 229, Travis is at 223 today. I can almost guarantee both of those names are going to jump up quite a bit over the course of the next week.
Remember all those guys when I did Armand Membu from Missouri and I did what's his name, Big Belton from NC State, and people were like, who the fuck are these people? Who the fuck are these? I bet you people know him now.
Man, Armand looked great. Wish I could say he didn't. You know what I mean? Just for shits.
Marcus Bowl, all those guys, man.
Marcus Bowl looked fantastic. I mean, gotta give him a little bit of extra love. But the one for me, and the versatility jumps out. It was Gray Zabel though. Gray Zabel looked smoking, bro.
I expected him to kind of test well because he's lean and he's not heavy. You know what I mean? But what surprised it, anytime I turned on that and saw those big dudes running was how fluid the really big ones were. Like the 25 pounds and bigger ones, how they ran and how they moved around. I didn't watch any real drills. I was looking at the burst coming off the line on the 40 because that's pretty much all I seen. You know, all the other stuff you'd have to tell me about. But I just wanted to see him come off the line of scrimmage, and every last one of those guys that we highlighted, Membu, Marcus Bow, Belton, all those guys, Jonah, one of the things that stuck out was how quick they were off the ball.
Yeah.
And they were very quick.
And that's what I was looking for. It wasn't you know what I mean? It's not the 40 that really jumped out to me. It was lateral movement and then the cone drill that they were doing, how they're getting up the field. Those are the things that jumped out to me and who could really get up the field and get set and get lateral and straight up and down. Gray Zabel is one of the guys so that I was like, holy smokes, he can move, bro. At center, I don't know how you get around a guy like that, right? I don't know because he gets super low for really.
Are we talking about Gray Zabel?
I am.
See, the thing with Gray Zabel is I don't know how to classify him because I think you have options with that guy. You know, I think it's options with several of these big guys like that. And I think, if you look at him as like, okay, we're gonna project him as a tackle, or okay, we're gonna project him as a guard, or we're gonna project him as a center. But if you put a cap over either one of those positions, you're going to miss the boat because he's going to excel at one of those three, if not all three of them, if you give him the opportunity. And so I think he's one of those guys that's position versatile. I think you can do things with him. But he's not the only one. There's several of them out there.
Well, that's part of the reason why he jumped out to me, because again, he's listed at tackle. That's what he's listed at. But then they started to show his center snaps, and I was like, holy smokes! At center, he's a problem. Like, he's a problem at center, which I was kind of surprised about. But it's just his lateral movement, which kind of jumped out to me. If I was Ryan Poles, I would be focused on this player because of the amount of holes I have, knowing that he's versatile enough to be switched into all three. Right? Like, I would be focusing on Gray Zabel. I'll be dead honest about that. That would be my primary offensive look.
Look at what Derek Guy is saying. Now, here's the thing about Gray Zabel. He says, I'm scared Zabel will get overpowered. I think he's too light, family. That's the one hiccup I have on him, as a matter of fact, Derek. When I look at him on film, you only get to look at a certain level of competition. And, and that's not to put any, smudge his name or anything like that because he played at North Dakota State. It's just you get to see certain amounts of competition. He got to see the top competition for a weekend at the Senior Bowl. You get to see that for an entire season, 12 games or more, at an SEC team or Big Ten teams for about 2 or 3 years consistently working in that environment. You would have a better grasp of what Gray Zabel can bring to the table. Gray Zabel is an absolute athlete now, but he's an absolute projection at the same time because you didn't see him play full padded against the top competition for long enough to really get a good sense of what he can bring to the table. You guessing, you gambling when you draft Gray Zabel, depending on where you get him at.
Well, it's more a question of where you play him at, right? It's just that I don't. If he plays guard, I don't see him getting bowled over. I don't. If he plays center, potentially. The upside is if he doesn't get bowled over and you're running up the gut, he can get upfield. He can move bodies. He can get upfield. So that these are reasons why I'm kind of interested in a Gray Zabel.
I think this combine right here is more for you because Kid's seen the combine more than I did. He's saying, what about Ariante Ursula?
I was just about to get to Ariante. Ariante looked fantastic, yo. I would. He's clearly a tackle, right? And I believe he's on the left.
Huh? I would tend to disagree with that. I saw a little bit of. I watched this game, man, and I'm not saying he's not a tackle. I think he can be, but his size. Sometimes you saw the smaller, quicker. They got the smaller 3-4 defense edge rushers that can give him a problem on that double move. He responds well to the second move, but it's going to be times when that size and that bulk is going to be to his detriment. I think he's going to get a run at tackle, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if somebody kicked him in the guard. Depending on
in the guard. That's thank you. All right, I'm in agreement with everything you just said because that was exactly how I felt. And what I mean by he's clearly a tackle is that he has the measurables to play the role. But you're right, he's not super fast. His lateral movement wasn't spectacular. In a phone booth, he could be the Don in the phone booth. You know what I'm saying? Like at guard, he would be in
a goddamn phone booth.
Yeah,
that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a Mekhi Becton type. He's just going to power. He's going to power drive dudes.
That's a great comp in my opinion. In a phone booth, he would be a monster human being. My question is can he improve his lateral movement on the edge if he's at tackle? I feel like he might be able to. It might take him a little bit of while, but he does have length at his advantage at 6'6", and he's got pretty long arms. So we'll have to see what that looks like. You would want to position a speed rusher against him, but I don't think you're moving him.
Illinois Jones says, what? Zabel's a big boy. I can't tell you exactly what his measurements. I think he goes somewhere between, I want to say 308, 310, 312, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know.
6'5", 312.
Okay, so I'm about right. He's a solid sized kid. But he reminds me of that kid that came out of North Dakota State a couple years ago. Everybody was like, we got to get him. he's going to be the starting left tackle, and he's a starting guard somewhere. Just saying. I forget his name, redhead kid. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. A couple of years ago, he came out. He ended up with Tampa, I believe. Somebody help me out. He came from the same school as Gray Zabel. What is his name? Everybody, once people started talking about him in the national media, people in the fan base just took a hold of him, and he was a solid player. But he is exactly, people were talking about his arm length and all that stuff, and he ended up getting moved inside the guard, and he's playing decent with Tampa Bay. This is only his second season, but he's decent.
Jackson Powers Johnson?
No, Cody Mock. That's exactly.
Cody Mock.
Remember him? Everybody was like, that needs to be the next left guard for the Bears. Sometimes you get that level of competition steps up, and you got to deal with that pressure of the freaking what's his name in Cleveland, the defensive end in Cleveland. What's his name?
Who, Garrett?
You got to deal with Myles Garrett. When you think somebody's going to make a great this or that, until they got to deal with a Myles Garrett, they got to deal with all these great edge rushers in the NFL. And sometimes it's better that you get a little protection, be inside. It's better athletes than some of these guys. Cody Mock is a good player, but as a starting left tackle, I didn't know about that. Gray Zabel, I don't know about that. Guard probably.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I would not. If I'm drafting Gray Zabel, I wouldn't really be drafting him as starting left tackle at all. I would keep Braxton Jones over there. I would be positioning him either as just swing tackle, swing guard, swing center. Like he can play all three. So wherever you don't wind up, shoring up in free agency, you have a guy who can handle all three of those other positions that might need addressing, right? If you got to start him at left tackle for the beginning of the season, maybe you do. Is he your prototypical left tackle? I wouldn't say he is. Like I got to put certain things out there. I wouldn't really put him on the edge. I wouldn't. No. I would put him on the inside or at the center. That's really where I'd want him to play.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing for him. Let me get to a few start comments. I don't know how old these are, but Derek Guy says, Nomad Kids, who's in your top 5 players in this draft? Man, that is such a loaded question for me. I got too many players in my head, Derek Guy. I just too many dudes I'm really high on, because my top 5 might not. My top 5, if I had to sit down and think about a top 5, I'm almost guarantee you it won't be nowhere near the top 5 that everybody else thinks it is, because I just see this stuff a little bit differently. But kids, to you, man, what you think?
Are we like? I think it's such a loaded question, because are we talking about overall? Are we talking about the Bears?
Talking about overall, man.
But top 5, I would probably say at offensive tackle, Will Campbell would probably be would be top 5. I don't know about Abdul Carter, because I didn't get the chance to see him. I would definitely say Mason Graham. I would have to say, if we're just talking combine, I would have to say James Pierce and Landon Jackson. Both of them jumped out at the edge. And if we're talking, blow everybody's mind now. If we're talking at the running back position, there's certain people who jumped out. And again, Ashton Genty didn't run. Omarion Hampton didn't run. Quinshawn Judkins jumped out, y'all. Jumped out. Bracial Tootin jumped out.
All right, so let me get to the next question, man, because let me see what we got up in here. All right, in the graph says, you think we're looking at safety in the 5th round? ? What's the biggest need? Safety, wide receiver, or I think he's talking about the edge, maybe.
With pick With pick 120.
In the 5th round for safety, I think the safety is going to come off the board a lot sooner than we think. Because of just because they don't know about Jaquan Brisker, and you got to have the safety, the top end of the safety class is noteworthy. Nick Eamon-Wari, the Lathan Ransoms, the Malachi Starks, and all those guys, all those guys. I think somewhere in the middle, like you talking about third, somewhere in the late 3rd round, middle of the 3rd round, beginning, somewhere in the 3rd, I think that dude's gonna come off the board. That's what I think.
I don't know how to touch that. I don't know, man. Like I say,
hey, Jay Capone says Omarion Hampton did run, by the way.
Did he?
I don't know. He's just saying
it. If Hampton did run, he didn't jump out to me, bro. That's it. I'm saying straight up and down. My guy Quinshon Judkins definitely jumped out. Because one of the things I expected to see this weekend was Travion Henderson outperform Quinshon Judkins at the very least in the 40.
So Romy's saying he ran a 4.45.
Won a 4.45? Okay. All right.
Visual Joe, what up, man?
All right.
Let's get to another question.
RB1 Vizzo, Joe.
Let's get to another one.
All right. I won't argue with it, but I will say that if you don't get access, and this is really what I'm looking at, right? The logjam. One more time. If you don't have the ability to draft an Ashton Jeanty, if you don't have the ability to draft an Omarion Hampton, either one of those guys could go in the 1st, if not very early into the 2nd, right? Both of them are solid. Same with Caleb Johnson, solid. If you're looking at a Quinshon Judkins, bud, I think you didn't do yourself you made no mistakes. You made no mistakes if that's who you wind up with later on into the 2nd round or even into the 3rd round. No mistakes with Quinshon Judkins.
I cannot argue anything against Omarion Hampton. I know he's high on a lot of people's radars right now. I'm thinking about, you can't really go wrong with Omarion Hampton. He's got everything you're looking for. I just don't believe. I think he's going to come off the board too early for the Bears.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And
right, that's really what I'm trying to say. Both those guys are going to come out. Both those guys are projected. We would have to trade back and get more cap. We just would. And if you can trade back and stay in the 1st, you might be able to get yourself an Omarion Hampton later in the 1st. But he's likely going in the 1st. The guys who jumped out to me that you can select a bit later on, Judkins and Tootin. Both of them look fantastic. Bigger bodied, but faster than expected. Both of them.
Hey, I'm gonna get to these questions as fast as I can. Jay Capone just wanted to know about Andrew Makuba. I think he's gonna be a slot corner, by the way, but we're gonna get to a couple more comments. I'll get to that in a few. Let me see. That's what we just asked. He says, let's talk about Eli Cox and why he's projected to go undrafted. I have no idea, man. I have no idea, Joshua. Joshua Walker asked that question, by the way, for anybody listening to an audio. Joshua Walker wants to know, why is he projected to go undrafted? That's why I don't pay attention to that stuff, man. Wherever somebody's
see, this is so you kind of have to, because this is because it's just benchmarking. There's benchmarking there's analytics benchmarking out there. And then you have to take from that and build your own board. Here's all the guys. Here's what they look like. Here's general stats on them. Make your own board, zero in, take a look at these guys. The great thing about the combine is that you get them in, you put them in a situation, you see how they perform in situationally versus their peers. And let me tell you, like the question being asked here is because Eli Cox showed out for somebody who's projected at 339.
So let me add to what you're saying, kids. This is why I don't buy it. And this is and we're going to get into the conversation about Drew Dalman and what's going to happen in free agency with him. We're going to get into that conversation next. But you got to think about what team out there is kind of starting over and trying to rebuild their situations. There's several teams out there rebuilding their situations. It's going to be pieces moving around everywhere because this guy won't fit in this scheme, this guy won't fit in that scheme, and so I think those teams that are looking for a true center, if there are teams like the Chicago Bears on the market for a true center, there's no way in hell whatever you guys saw. I saw Eli Cox run the 40. He was flying. And I'm just telling you, anybody who's looking for a true center, Eli Cox is right there at the top of that echelon. Eli Cox, Drew Kendall, a couple other guys I can think of, not right off the top of my head, but there's a few other guys. We did a few of them here on the show. But if you're talking about need versus what somebody's projecting somebody to go, some of these teams like Chicago, I mean, we pretty much need a whole entire offensive line. How can we wait into the end of the hope that Eli Cox makes it until the end outside of the draft and try to get him? No, if we're in a situation somewhere 5th, 6th, 7th round, and he's still on the board, we need to get that kid.
So the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. All right. So the way that I look at that is sometimes this is like, you just articulated my one worry with Ryan Poles, and we saw a little bit of that with his, how antsy he was to get himself access to Rome Odunze last season. In a situation where somebody's projected at 339, you don't jump the gun. You get more capital and you get them. You get them, but you don't like, you know what I mean? Drafting Eli Cox for instance, at 72 is crazy talk. You know what I mean? Like, that's just crazy.
Getting who at 72?
Eli Cox for instance.
Why is that crazy?
Because you can get a much more valuable piece at 72.
You probably could. Just like the same way I felt
that he's not going to be valuable to the team and that we don't need a center. We do. But that's the beauty of the way this game works, the way drafting works, is you can bide your time, you can wait, you can gain capital in the process and still secure your guy. That's why it's awesome to see. That's why I like the combine. It's awesome to see a guy who's looked at performing and projected much further back and do what he did this weekend. Because now there's some real quality at the center position that you can probably get a little bit later in the draft.
Well, I'll give you this last point just to put it over the top for you and everybody else that's listening to the show, watching it. There's a world where we don't get Drew Dalman.
Yep.
There's a world, because I've been looking at news reports. I try to, when we're supposedly targeting a guy, I got to go look at other news outlets and seeing what everybody's saying. And there's a good chance that Drew Dalman never makes it out of Atlanta. They sign him back up. I'll get into detail when we get him on the screen. We'll talk about him. I saw some tape on him. But if we don't get Drew Dalman, everybody's going to turn to, okay, where can we get a center in the draft? Because pretty much he's the only center that anybody thinks is worth anything, right? And so if we don't get him in free agency in the next week or so, then people are going to start saying, you know what, we got to draft a center high. And so at that point, 72 doesn't sound so damn high. If we didn't get a center in free agency that we was looking for, if we end up with Coleman Shelton again, you better get a center high enough. Try to get the best center on the board.
No.
Dog, you better.
No. What I'm saying is what the surprising aspect at the center position is that it's deeper than expected. Starting out, the top center is listed at around 111. Now, if I can see from, again, how well he performed, he might go earlier than 111, and that makes sense. Eli Cox is not listed as the top center. You know what I mean? There's a few centers in between him, Jonah Monahan, etc. There's a few centers in between him that will be valuable to other people as well.
You're talking to a guy, you're telling me about who's listed, and you're talking to a guy that has seen them on tape. And I'm telling you, like, Eli Cox is right there at the top of the echelon. I don't care where he's listed. I know what I see on tape.
I do agree. From the way he showed out, I do agree with you. So I don't expect him to go anywhere near the 300s, but I also don't expect him to go at the 70s. We'll get him somewhere smack. We'll get him with pick 149, right? Like
it doesn't really make a difference to me where he goes, really, where he's projected. It's about the value, where we can get him. Whatever. It just really boggles my brain just try to imagine what the Bears would do at any given moment during the draft. I just have no idea because I'm not looking at their draft board. All I can tell you is the value that I see on film. That's all I can tell you. That's it. And I'm telling you, he's solid, rock ass solid. And it's just like whatever you project a center, you who you find me somebody who kind of really knew who Dalman was. Find me somebody who knew who Trey Smith was. There's people out there that's like me that, 5 years ago, I wasn't paying attention to the draft all that much. But there's people who knew these players. That's a select population of people versus the people who are really on the outside looking in and just hear about what they see on TV or whatever, however they get their information. Like those guys have to be developed, kids, every last one of them. And so whoever it is, just know that wherever you get him, whether he's drafted in the first round, 7th round, or he goes undrafted, the process starts when they get here. And can you develop him and turn him into a $20 million offensive guard? Can you turn him into a $15, $18 million center? You know what I mean? So he requires money. And so that's the part. Like, we can't live off of, getting everybody else's draft picks. We got to learn how to draft and develop our own shit. And sometimes that means you got to draft a guy a little bit earlier than you expected it to, because if you think his traits are worthy enough and at a high enough level, that that ceiling pretty much there's no ceiling to it. You can get him to go as far as you need him to go if you got the right people in the building. And so I just want people to know that if you are sure, like I feel pretty good about this coaching staff they brought in here. I feel really good about the offensive line coach and the defensive line coach. That shit was important that they got the right people, grizzled veterans that really, really emphasize on development. Like those coaches don't live off of other people's talent. They draft the talent that they are sure about and they start developing them. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. If they can trick it off and get a few more picks out of this draft via trade or however they do it, that would be great, because I think this is an excellent draft for the needs that we have. And you hear Ryan Poles say that, you hear Ben Johnson say it. That is absolutely true. Everything we need is in this draft in abundance.
That is the God honest truth, bro. There is and this is why the logjam that I've been talking about at multiple positions is a beautiful thing for the Chicago Bears this time around. Although one might think, I think we all think there's a little bit of desperation here in the trenches. There should be, but given the logjam that I'm talking about at the edge, at defensive tackle, on the offensive line, for the most part, they can do some real damage if they can gain some additional capital. It's literally that simple to me. If they can gain maybe 2 selections in the top 150, there's no problems retrofitting both the offensive line and the defensive line, and then having a conversation about running back and safety too in the top 150. No problems. And you still have potentially another couple of picks later where you can talk about wide receiver and or anything else you want to do.
Yeah, man. Listen, one last question before
There's talent here, bro. There's talent here this time.
God, I know it.
Yeah.
One more question before we get into this. Some of the news I'm hearing about with these free agent targets. Okay, say for instance, they drafted a defensive guy let's say they stuck with the 10th, and they just stuck and stayed, and they're going to get a defensive guy, and that's the guy that, with all the offensive linemen on the board, there's only going to be a couple, 2 or 3 of them get if that, to get taken off the board early. If they get a defensive guy right off the top, and it's a defensive tackle or something like that,
Sure.
Would you be upset?
So
Don't
here's
just
no. I had to think about it. So here's why I might be a little upset. So if we're talking about at 10, if you're drafting a DT at 10, it's very likely going to be Mason Graham. And Mason Graham is fantastic. My problem is that what happens to Javon Dexter? You replaced a hole you don't have. You've created a hole and you haven't filled one.
What if it's
that's
okay.
My problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're looking a little bit further back at defensive tackle and you're looking for a nose, cool. Even same thing with like Tyleik Williams is more of a nose to me. He's much more of a nose. Like I'm sure he can be a 3-tech 2.
He's a nose.
You know what I mean? He could be a 3-tech 2 just with the how smooth his movements were, how athletic he is. But just given his he's just a bowling ball. I see him much more of a nose. That's really where I would be aiming for if I was Ryan Poles. You know what I mean? That's just me. I'd be looking for somebody a little bit more weighty, a little bit more size to take care of that run. So yeah, that's how I answer that question.
We got a few more questions to get to before we switch subjects, but I must have done 6 or 7 mock drafts by now. The ones I showed 2 of them on the screen for the Nomaniacs and showed you guys. It seems like every single time I'm sitting there with Tyleik Williams and I can't help but to take him, given everything that I know is on the board.
At 10?
At 10, man.
What's wrong with you, bro?
Because that's the way the shit's falling to me.
No.
And he's right there, like right when I go pick at 10. Every freaking time is Tyleik is the number 1 guy that's the next player up. And I understand why when I look at the film. I take those mock draft simulators only so far. I know what it is, man. It's just algorithm stuff. AI, it's just, but that pick would not be the worst thing in the world, man. You got to firm up the interior, your defensive line, as well as the interior offensive line. If he's the best player available in the trenches at that spot at 10, then you go there. If he's the most impactful guy at 10, then you go there. But that's just my thoughts. I don't want to get caught up in that conversation because that can go on and on. Because let me get to the start comments, kids. I know where this is going to go. All right. The next question was, Illy says, "No man cares. What do you want in free agency? Then we can shape the draft." In free agency, I'm definitely. I think the value is definitely interior offensive line. That's where, to me, the most value is. I don't think there's a lot of value at running back. I don't think there's a lot of value at receiver. Not to say that the Bears, if a situation they feel like they need to fill a roster spot at receiver or running back, okay. But I don't see it there. But I think the interior of the offensive line is where the value is. And I think if you really want to get it where you need it to go, I think you get 2 vets at both the guard spot. I think you get 2 vets. And I think you get maybe you consider getting a younger center. But I think all 3 of those spots, I think you have to draft them. But I think you get some stopgap guys in between, here and now. You know what I mean? That's why I think they should spend their time and get Chase Young. I think that's what they should do in free agency.
Okay. I don't like. I'm going to argue with what you just said a little bit, but at the same time, it makes sense, and it's just a question of dollars and cents, and what this free agency period kind of looks like at those positions. So definitely Chase Young at the edge. I'm 1,000,000,000% with you there. Spend the money, get yourself a linchpin at the edge. If you do that, you don't necessarily need to double dip at the edge rusher position in the draft, although there's a lot of talent there, as I've already described, right? That being said, and we're talking about the defensive tackle position. The pickings aren't as nice as one would think. I would think you might be looking at maybe a Javon Kinlaw, maybe. The pickings aren't as nice, bro. That's all I'm saying at that particular position. So if the pickings aren't that nice,
D tackle is not bad either, man. It's some big interior.
that's what I'm looking at. It's not nice. It's not great at D tackle. It's just not. There's a few D tackles that make sense to me. Again, Kinlaw would be the guy I'd be aiming at. Just trying to see if there's anybody really else who jumps out to me that's somewhat youthful and at a decent, like.
I'll tell you a guy to keep an eye on is Kalen Saunders.
Saunders?
A D tackle out of, I think he's playing with, I want to say New Orleans or Kansas City. He's on one of them.
I don't see him as a free agent as yet.
He will be.
Okay, so that much I can say. I don't see him listed as a free agent thus far. I do see
Dalvin Tomlinson.
That's going to cost you good money. Sheldon Rankins is out there. That's going to cost you good money.
Dalvin ain't going to cost that much. He's a little older.
And that's the other thing. Like I don't know. I don't know if you want to. You know what I mean. You're looking for. You're sort of looking for youth here, in my opinion. You want
not really, because you're going to be drafting guys. You need some guys to really fill up and get and let's just say in the free agency, there's going to be maybe a player or two that you're going to see a potential long-term contract. Let's say they get somebody like Chase Young. You're probably going to give him a 2-year deal and maybe give him some kind of write something in the contract where he can get his shit extended and get a little bit more money. You go get a Dalvin Tomlinson, you go get a Kalen Saunders, you go get a Kevin Zeitler, any of those guys, you're looking at a year or two, maybe, and that's it, man. Maybe a year. You're trying to give them 1-year contracts and getting up out of there. But that's exactly what those guys don't want to play for. That's the last thing they want to do is play for that 1-year contract. They want to get some kind of security and stability going on too. And so I think you get some vets, man, and just going to draft and just really thinking it up and get some options behind every last one of them. So whether it's on the offensive line or on the defensive line, just know you're going to draft every one of those positions. You're going to have a young guy coming up.
That's why I kind of had to. That's really why I'm sort of disagreeing with you. I think the sweet spot in this free agency is actually at guard. That's sort of my thoughts here. Oops. On here. That me?
What happened? Kids, your audio went out. Just give kids a second.
Sorry about that, man. Spot Track's an MF, and they throw video stuff at me all the time, and it messes with my stuff. So at guard, yeah, guard is super nice. You're probably.
Vic is right though, man. What he's saying is absolutely what you're trying to do is you're trying to set it up, tee it up. He said you need some bridge players, 1 or 2 years. Let's draft and learn from them. That's it. Having that proper mixture of veterans that know how to do it and are effective, and you can start them right now while their replacement is coming up right beneath them. That's the idea. That's what every GM wants to do is get guys in that position that they know they can count on for a year or two. It's going to be stable. And you got guys that know what they're doing right behind them and they're learning and can come in there and give you some good reps. That's what you want.
But, okay, and I fully agree with that. But at what positions do you want the bridge to be at? So we
guard in particular and nose tackle in particular. Maybe 3.
Okay. I can dig it. Like the facts is guard is deep. Guard is deep. There's a bunch of relatively youthful guys that you could actually get here for long-term deals. It's starting with Mekhi Becton, right? Mekhi's youthful. He's young. You can get him at a decent price tag. He'll be paid well. If you're talking about a stopgap, aka Kevin Zeitler, like Kevin Zeitler is a perfect stopgap for you. Knows the coach. Knows the system, I'm sure, or at least will have an idea about the system, and he can just rock and roll. Not a bad idea with a Zeitler if you're talking stopgap. Not a bad idea. I'm gonna leave it at Zeitler from a stopgap perspective. I might throw James Daniels in there as a potential stopgap, but
He's
again,
not a stopgap. He's a guy.
he's youthful. You can play him for a couple of years. You can.
You got another 5 years in that guy.
I know, and this is why I'm saying the guard position. You don't really need you can get quality guys here this time around. You can't. Makari, Daniels, Nate Herbig, Becton, all of those guys are in that 25 to 26 year range.
You see what I mean when I say the interior of the trenches is probably the most valuable space to spend some money at.
That's where you have to spend your money at in this free agency. That's where you have to spend your money at. You can get two guards. Heck, you can get two of the guys I just named on 2 to 3 year deals if you wanted to shore up those positions. You could backfill them with a draft pick, and then you're not beholden to only really drafting for the line, right? It's just what you could do. You could also get a stopgap at either one of these positions. And my thoughts is you get the stopgap at the left tackle. That's my thoughts. Strictly because Braxton's hurt. Get your stopgap over there, and that guy could be
it could be Ronnie Stanley.
Could be Ronnie Stanley.
Alaric Jackson is off the board.
So he's already been traded?
No, he's off the board. They signed him up.
They re-signed him. Okay, so
we were talking to him at first. Remember?
Yeah. He was definitely a target. I'm looking at this list now. He's off the list.
Let me ask you Nick's question. Nick, remember, asked. He said, "What about Ozzie Trapillo, Nomad?" He's talking about from Boston College. I'm going to take a second dive in on Ozzie before I've been. I think
speak on Ozzie. I'll be right back. 1 second.
All right. I've been thinking about putting him on the last two shows, but I'm gonna go back into his tape before Friday comes up. And by Friday, hopefully, I'll be able to. I'm gonna tell you whether or not I think he's quality or not. You know, I'm not gonna listen to nobody else. I'm just gonna trust what I see on film. And if he makes it to that show, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I see. But I didn't. Let's just say he was solid. Okay, that's the best thing I could say about Ozzie Trapillo at tackle. I just don't know. That's why I'm gonna go and look at the tape again when I'm questionable about a player like that. And I tend to when I write them down on paper and I look at the tape, I'll either put a circle around that player or I'll put a question mark. And so if I put a question mark by that guy, I see something. And so Ozzie Trapillo, I seen quite a while ago, and I'm gonna go back in and look at the tape a second time around and see if I saw the same things, if it was consistent. It's a few things that I was questionable about with Ozzie, but I'm gonna go back in there and look at it again and just trust what I seen on film. But I would say he was solid. I would just say he was solid. It wouldn't surprise me that Ryan Poles shows a particular interest in him because he's from Boston College. But I'm gonna take a good look at him again. I'm gonna tell you what I think of him, man, and we'll see. We'll see. That's the best thing I can say right now, Nick. Hold on, let me see what other comments we got here. What we got? Mr. Charles says no on James Daniels. He's already hit his ceiling. I don't know about that. So James Daniels is in a particular kind of offense in Pittsburgh. He's in a power scheme versus what they're doing over here in zone. This is going to be a wide zone scheme, probably with a mixture of power. I don't know that we've seen the best zone scheme James Daniels because we have very limited reps with him in any kind of zone scheme. So as far as power goes, I can understand what you mean by that. He's played a lot of power football at Pittsburgh. That's what they do. They bunch of pulling and pinning and just knocking the snot out of people. But that's the kind of offense they play in Pittsburgh. This is completely different what they're going to run here. it's interesting if you like James Daniels, you always want to know, like, how does he translate? I probably have to go back and look at some Iowa film on him, because I do believe at the time when he was drafted, they were running a wide zone offense, I think. But I had to go back and look at it. But I don't think he's hit his ceiling whatsoever, especially not at his age. He's only 26 years old, 27 maybe. Yeah, I think he's got a. I think offensive linemen do nothing but get better if they last in the league. If over the years they just get better and better and better. I don't think he hit his ceiling whatsoever. I hate to disagree with you, but I definitely disagree with that one. Let me see. Scottish Bear says Kevin Zeiler only cost the Lions $6 million. He would cost minimal and could be used as a bridge for a drafted guard. Absolutely, bro. Marlon Johnson wants to know about Odiggy. I think it's Odiggy. What is his name? I know you're talking about from Dallas. I think word is they're going to put a franchise tag on him. That's the word from Dallas. Odigizua is going to get franchise tag. He's talking about the 3-tech from Dallas. I think he's getting the franchise tag. I seen that probably about an hour or two before we did the show. He's going to get the franchise tag. I don't think there's going to be an option to get him. Now, could he be tagged and traded? Maybe. That's possible, but I think he was a guy that I had circled. Just because he's really, really effective, really quick. Just he's a problem off the ball. Odigizua, they'd be a fool to let him go. I think he's going to be a stud. Illy Jones says, "What about bringing Tevin back for 2 years to be a backup?" I think the market ain't going to be very friendly to Tevin Jenkins, and I think we will have that option.
I disagree.
You think it's going to be friendly to Tevin Jenkins?
I do.
Why?
Let's just look here.
Derek Guy says, "Nomad, I've watched a lot of film on Smith. I'm trying to think of what Smith he's talking about, and Jenkins." And he said, "I'm going to keep it a buck, famo. Smith ain't that much better than Jenkins." What Smith are we talking about?
You're talking about Trey Smith.
Trey Smith. Oh, okay. Watch the tape and you'll see what I'm saying. Tevin Jenkins, let's just say, I don't know. Like, Tevin Jenkins doesn't look like the same player to me that he did when he first got here. Now, when I watch Tevin play, there's those sparks, there's those flashes of the Tevin Jenkins that I know and love. And then there's other times where I see him be so stiff and like it's like guys get around him way more easier than I seen him when he first got there. Like, he was, I don't know what happened between when he got drafted and now, but I can tell you this, Derek, I'm not going to fuss with you about that. You're probably seeing some stuff that I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to. And so credit to you for that. But he just don't seem like the same dude. I don't know if him moving the guard and, he saw himself as a tackle. I don't know if that didn't just destroy his spirit. And the injuries that, you pile that on top of everything that's going on with him, he doesn't look like the same player. He looks really stiff when I see him now, man. It's like he doesn't move the same to me.
So maybe the market won't be good to Tevin. I don't know how to predict that. All I can say is we all know he hasn't played a lot of football over the course of his career. Weird. I'm just looking at Mekhi Becton. There's a solid missing year, but 900 plus snaps, 15 games out of 17, 16 games out of 17, 900 plus snaps. It's a huge difference when we're just using the word availability, right? Freaking trap.
Maybe you need to take that window down.
Yeah, something. Go figure. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make really is just that the market value is exactly the same between these two players, and one clearly makes it onto the field and the other one doesn't. So, yeah, I know. Like, I'm kind of with all of you fans. Like, I would love to see Tevin continue here as a Chicago Bear. And I was saying that all last year. The second he got hurt, I was like, yep, this is probably not going to happen. All he needed to do was play 15 games last year, 17, closer to 17 games last year, and he would have received a contract. He couldn't, he didn't, and that's how we got here. So he's going to wind up on the market. And the only reason I'm saying that is simply because he wasn't offered anything last season, which is really when it should have happened. So Ryan Poles is willing to allow him to test the market and see what happens. If he tests the market and doesn't get anywhere near that 10 million and change that his market value is expected to be, there may be a potential for him to re-sign with us at a more team-friendly case scenario, which is what exactly I think Ryan Poles is hoping will happen. But even then, we're probably only getting 11 games out of Tevin.
Well, let me address something Vic is saying. Vic Perez says, I've seen the numbers on Tev's potential contract, and it goes from 33 to 41 million. I guess that's probably for about 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And so basically, okay, if you wanted me to tell you the bright side of what Tevin Jenkins can be, it's not in a wide zone scheme. It's going to be more in a power base, like what they do in Pittsburgh, and where he can really get off the ball and he's not worrying about trying to be in alignment with the guard next to him or the center next to him or the tackle next to him. You getting off the ball and you really opening up lanes. So just to understand the difference between wide zone concept, inside zone concept, and power gap concepts, like those concepts, if you look at Pittsburgh play versus how we play, and you just look at offensive line, that right away will tell you the difference between a wide zone concept and a power gap concept. These guys, they ask them to really get off the ball and move people. And Tevin Jenkins he's a road grader. That's what he wants to do. In this scheme, he can't be the Tevin Jenkins that he wants to be and can be. So for that matter.
Well, hold on
now. That makes a lot of sense. Like if
what you're saying makes sense, but is that the scheme that we're moving with, right? So at this point, it's Ben Johnson. I have no clue what the offense is really.
Hopefully, there's a solid mixture, man. Hopefully, there's a solid mixture where we're doing both.
I'm just saying I don't know what that's going to look like. But that contract, those contract numbers, Vic, are bang on. Basically, 10 million
years. He said 3 years.
Yeah, 10 million a year, 3 years, if not 4, at that 40 number. That makes perfect sense to me. 10 million change. But again, you're paying it for a guy who's likely going to be hurt because he's been hurt every single year in question. Do you want to associate 10 mil with a guy who will be hurt? Or do you want to associate 10 mil on a guy who hasn't been hurt?
And Nas is talking about Nas wants to see some physical football like I want to see. He said if we use a 2 tight end or 2 wide receivers, he would thrive. And he's talking about playing power football, man. It's like I was just looking at. I'm gonna tell you some interesting shit. Late last night, kids. Late last night when I was done doing everything and my girlfriend had gone to bed. It was right before she went to bed, and she got mad at me because we spend a lot of time when she gets off work, man. And I was looking at the 2007 game, the playoff game, Seattle against the Bears. It was at Soldier Field, and I was looking at the line play. Olin, I don't know if it was hard. It was hard for me to fathom. I was like, who was the left tackle at that time? Until I turned the game on and saw it was John Tate. I was like, damn, that was that dude. Okay. And so I was looking at the line play, and Thomas Jones was just eating their ass up. I didn't get past the first half. I fell asleep, had to wake up and do a couple of things before I went back to bed. But I'm telling you, that's when you're talking about what Nas is thinking right now and how we were physically dominant. Like that offensive line group led by Olin or spearheaded by Olin, they played a particular kind of football. And Lovey was the mastermind behind it. Of course, the offensive coordinator put it all together, but he wanted to play a certain brand of football. And so I think Ben Johnson wants to play a certain brand of football too. How that brand of football looks in comparison to that 2007 playoff game against Seattle, let's just say it was all power in that game. in that team, in that lineup, it was all power gap scheme. They were pulling guys and just, big 88, what's his name at the time? Desmond Clark or whoever it was. Was he the tight end at that time?
Oh,
was
God. What year are we talking about?
It was 88. He was pounding motherfuckers in the he was pulling and just pinning. I mean, he was just destroying motherfuckers. Jason McKee getting off the ball, destroying people. That was power football. You use a fullback. And I think a lot of people would love to see us get back to that. To be honest with you, in my heart of hearts, man, I don't understand why teams don't employ that system. You can't do shit about that when you got the right players to really execute that system. If you got dogs that can really pound the shit out of people and just, we're going to dominate you, we're going to bully you around, like that team, there ain't shit you can do with that. It's 11 on 11, and we're going to pull a guy to make sure we open up this hole and get in the way if you want to. 88's going to pound you. 37's going to pound you. We might pull whoever the guards were at that time. We might pull a tackle around to make sure that number 20 gets this ball and gets a hole. That's what I want to see happen again in Chicago, taking a mixture of wide zone concepts. Hopefully they bring that to the table, because that's exactly what they were doing in New Orleans. It was a big mixture of wide zone and a mixture of gap power schemes. And so they were pounding the shit out of people, man. If you ever cared to see what these guys think, this offensive line coach, look at the Saints tape when Drew Brees was there, and look at exactly how that looked. That scheme worked. Every one of those offensive linemen minus one made the Pro Bowl.
So, yeah. So I don't know what Ben's offense is going to look like. All he's said so far is that it's going to look a heck of a lot different than what was going on in Detroit. So we'll have to see. We also have to respect the fact. I hate to go down the road I'm going down. I think it was Illy Jones earlier on saying that, I think DeAndre Swift might have been a Ryan Poles miss, and like maybe he was, but even then, I still respect the things that Smith can do. But that running game is not it doesn't look anything like that running back room. It doesn't look anything like the Detroit Lions running back room. So something has to be done there, and something has to be done in the trenches along the lines of what you're talking about with the power scheme. So we'll see what that looks like. In the meantime, just going back to the Tevin Jenkins conversation and the reality of it is, one more time, I don't know if I don't think they're in a position to pay Tevin Jenkins $10 million a year. And yes,
if we were running power, yes, they would be. Well,
not for 11 games a year. And this is why you draft for depth, kids. If he leaves, he will be a Pro Bowler this year. I'm pretty sure. I think you guys have to sort of resign to the fact that he's left. He's left, as opposed to if he leaves, he's left, because Ryan didn't re-sign him last season. He's a total free agent. He can go anywhere he wants, and money talks, bullshit walks, right? That's kind of where we are. If the money ain't talking, he may come back and bullshit with us. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's be real. If the money ain't talking, hey, maybe there's room for negotiation and we can bring him back on. But it won't be at the $10 million price tag, because we can find another guy. Now, to answer really what you're saying, I expect him to be a Pro Bowler wherever he goes, because I can almost guarantee wherever he goes, he's going to have a resurgent season.
He's going to have to get over the health bug, number one.
Bro, he's going to have a resurgent season. I don't think he's even going to have any of the health issues he's been having elsewhere. I think that's just the reality of Tevin Jenkins as a Chicago Bear. I don't know how else. I don't know what else you can chalk up.
No, kids, you're not far off, man. I think there's something to, you come here, you're projected as this. They drafted Tevin Jenkins to be basically Justin Fields' bodyguard. They wanted that guy to be the left tackle for the Chicago Bears. And some shit happened got in the way of that. He ended up being switched over to guard from both sides to the next. He's playing a little bit of everything. And that shit fuck with his spirit. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. That's the sense I get. And
you're right. So just to start it off, he was drafted hurt, which hurt his position on the team. Like that's really what it did, because it allowed Larry Borum to come in, take over his spot, and play it really, really well at the time, given the case scenario. But they also had to then go and look at another guy on the other side, being Jason Peters. So now you're competing with a vet, and they had to bring in a stopgap to handle you. And then the following year, everybody who drafted you gets fired, and they move you out of your position. So it takes you a couple of weeks just to get over the fact that, like, I'm not really a left tackle anymore. I'm a guard now. I don't want to play guard. Oh, snap, I'm pretty good at guard. Okay, all right. So, like, that takes a few. Oh, snap, I'm hurt again. It's just been a really interesting roller coaster ride for Tevin Jenkins. Again, I love the kid. I think he's Pro Bowl caliber guard, straight up and down. And that's really what Derek Guy was saying. I agree with you. I think they're not just saying Jenkins is worth more than $10 million, in my opinion. I almost agree with that, except for the availability issue. He's never proven that here, right? That just hasn't been proven here. And Ryan's well aware, and this is why he didn't offer him a contract.
Okay. I mean, Dobbsy is he's more thinking exactly what I'm thinking. I'm gonna just read. Dobbsy 34 says, was treated dirty here. Remember, he was practically dropped off the team before he finally found a job at left guard. After they picked up the guy, we don't talk about it.
It's true though, Dobbsy. You're bang on, and
he's not fucking lying.
He's not only is he not lying, but let's do Tevin Jenkins a favor and say that maybe Chris Morgan sucked. All right, like let's just do that favor, because I'm pretty sure we can probably all agree that there's been zero development under Chris Morgan. But as soon as he came in here, the decision was made. Tevin Jenkins, you were no longer at tackle. Never again. You're not a tackle. I'm in the position. You're not playing tackle.
It's all flus.
Well, we can say it
is.
Hold on a minute. I'm not even really arguing that it's all flus. I'm going to also say that it might be Chris Morgan up the flus.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be the offensive line coach saying, I don't want him as my left tackle. I want somebody else as left tackle. Screw him, we'll bench him, or we'll get rid of him. We'll trade him. Oh, we found a home at left guard. Cool. That goes up to Flus, and Flus sings the praises that his trusted offensive line coach is giving him. One more time, trusted offensive line coach hasn't been able to develop a single human being over the course of his tenure. Slight exception, Braxton Jones. All right, slight exception. But Braxton, in my opinion, being a fifth-round draft pick who's starting in the NFL and getting reps, could be better than he is now. He's kind of plateaued, right? And if that's what we're talking about here, one more time, might just be a situation where Chris Morgan sucks. So with a brand new coaching staff, brand new offensive line coaching, maybe Tevin Jenkins thrives. Really hard to say.
I don't even know that Chris Morgan sucked as much as Flus did as a head coach. I think he was way more involved in operations of all of their rooms than he should have been, man. And him being friends with Chris Morgan didn't help anything, because he was bent towards trusting that guy because he's my friend. You're going to have a job with me no matter what because you're my friend. And that probably, and I know this listening to Ben Johnson talk about it, that was highlighted in the conversation that he made. I'm not hiring guys. I went out of my comfort zone and I didn't hire guys that were my friends. And so that was a particular thing inside this building. It was just sugar-coated and got a little powdered sugar dusted on top of. That was a problem inside this motherfucker. And then nobody really, we noticed it, we knew it, but nobody emphasized it. Everybody was so quick to point the finger at this or that. And it's just like, man, that nepotism going on inside this motherfucker, man. I ain't like it, man. I really didn't. Alan Williams, I didn't like none of that shit, man.
That's such a solid, like, I when he said it, I didn't really give it as much stock as what you just did there. And now that I think about it, it makes it much easier to yell at and or fire a guy if he ain't your buddy. Hey, Chris, you suck. You're fired. You know what I'm saying? Like, just straight up and down. Hey, Alan Williams, what are you doing? You suck, you're fired. So much easier if he's not, oh, hey, I spent a couple years with Alan. We got a relationship. My daughter and his daughter, they play at the park. They've known each other. You know what I mean? Like, just so much easier to get the job done. It's a job, right? So I don't know. Just to sort of touch on what you're saying, I'm projecting now that Ryan Poles was probably projecting that a part of the issue with Matt Eberflus is that he hired a bunch of his friends.
Look at what Labs is saying. He said so Poles didn't have any saying that when you hire a coach and you just the GM, you just there to facilitate the management of it all. You're hiring a coach and he's hiring coaches to come in and support what he's trying to do. And all you're doing is trying to be, yes, I don't know you're basically just trying to be the overseer, making sure everything is functioning right, just overseeing the operation. And if this is what this guy is telling you he needs, he's the head coach. He's the one that's got to go coach with this stuff. And if he's telling you, I need Chris Morgan in that room, I trust what he's doing. Who are you to say, you know what? I don't like Chris Morgan. Talking about if you're Ryan Poles, I don't like Chris Morgan. I want you to coach with this guy. Now, how does that make sense, man? You got to think about that. He's just a guy that's on the fringes of probably wanting to do more. But if you say you trust the guy to coach this team up and get this thing cooking the way it should be cooking, then you have to give him that leeway. Am I right, kids? You got to give him that. And if it fails, it fails.
You cannot, and we'll just go in a different direction here, right? Like, you can't tell a director of a business who to hire. Top down as at the VP. No. You need to hire this guy instead of no. You let the director direct, and that's basically what the coach is. The coach is the director of football, of the coaching staff. He's putting that together. He's putting together a team, and they have to answer to him. Now, let's be real. You kind of have to have your friends. You have to have supporters in that group of people.
Let me put it this way, kid. All right. Let's just say if JCPenney decide they want to sponsor the Nomad Network, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, okay, the Nomad Network consists of Nomad, Kids, Nick, Triple R, and FF, whoever's involved in here, and say, you know what? I think you guys are really good at what you do. We want you to we want to pay you money to do this, and we trust that what you're doing is great. Here's the thing. We want you to if he asked me, JCPenney asked me, Nomad, what do you think you need to cook this meal? And I tell him, I need this, that, kids, I need trips, I need whoever. And all of a sudden they tell me that, okay, I don't want you to have him. This is who I want you to have. I'm going to tell them, deal is off then, motherfucker. We ain't doing nothing. Because if you like what we do and you trust in my leadership and be able to drive this content, you want to sponsor it, how are you going to then turn and tell me what I need to have to do the content? Right?
You can't dictate.
You get what I'm saying, man?
100% top down. They can't dictate that to you, because right off the bat, you're going to feel a way about the dictation, right? Like just the first level. You're going to feel a way about being told how to do your job, and then you're not going to do your job effectively. It's just a negative connotation from beginning. But let's really park this thing. Who said it in the chat? Let me just come back here.
Basically, if you're gonna trust, you hire the guy because you trust he can build a winner.
So
give him what he needs to build his goddamn winner. If you don't like that guy that he's hired, that's on you. But you got to give him time to work with.
Well, this is it. So shout out to the homie Scottish Bear. Nomad has nailed it. Flu set himself up to fail. Looking back, it was never going to work. I'm going to take one step, 1 degree further and say Ryan Poles should never have selected the worst out of all of those coaches to begin with. I don't know what he was thinking. Because I don't know who's out there, y'all. Like, feel free in the chat. Like, was anybody familiar with Matt Eberflus at the time of hiring?
I was not. I would,
I just want a yes or a no in the chat. If you can give me a yes or a no, I would super appreciate that. Because, like, who the fuck was mad?
I kind of was, man. I kind of was, kids. I ain't gonna lie. I called my homeboy. This is before I was a podcaster. I called my homeboy, one of my teammates from school, and I was just like, man, you seen this coach defense? I was like, these motherfuckers are, but they were ferocious, man. I mean, Darius Leonard, Buckner. I mean, they had those dudes was on people, man, and they were just creating all these turnovers. They came in and played a game against us and treated us like we were supposed to show them what defense looks like. They showed us what Bears defense looked like.
So, like, I hear what you're saying, and yes, he was a solid defensive coordinator, and he still is. Now, can't take that away from the guy, and I think everybody would agree with that. But as a head coach, in a head coaching search, versus two Super Bowl caliber head coaches, you select this guy? Fuck are you doing?
Nobody knew. Like, if you listen to some Tampa Bay interviews, I can remember seeing some Tampa Bay interviews with Lovey and his personality, and I would have probably been like I was with Ben Johnson in the offseason. And I'm like, that dude ain't no leader of men. That dude ain't no leader of men. His personality didn't look like it would translate inside of a building with all the players, not just the defensive room. I would have said, Lovey, there's no shot in shit that Lovey's going to be a great head coach.
I agree. If we're talking personality, but at the same time, if we're talking personality, Matt Eberflus, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. He wasn't exuding any level of personality. He didn't at all, ever. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't win there's no way he won the interview with his charm. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just didn't. He just fucking didn't. He just didn't. So if that's what we're talking about, why not select a Dan Quinn? What was wrong with Dan Quinn? He just came off a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were guys that were being interviewed who had tenure and had done things and could speak to it. And he chose the guy who had done nothing except for be a DC. And then under normal pretenses, that's a good thing because you need a good DC. But I don't know. So I'm going to flush this argument. I'm going to flush it because we're way past it. I'm going to flush it. Here we are now, year 2025. We got a guy who's got personality, definitely won the interview by way of personality, right? But also knows what the heck he's doing on the offensive side of the ball. This all bodes very, very well for Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears did not chintz out this time around. I think universally, everybody can look at this particular coaching search and hire and go, yeah, y'all did the damn thing this time. You did. I think they did. And I'm super excited to see how that translates to the field.
Well, I'm just going to tell you this. I was excited about the hire, not because of his personality, not because of anything other than, I remember them getting a lesser known coach like Matt Eberflus. I mean, not Matt Eberflus, but Lovie Smith, that didn't have that striking personality. And I saw what that turned into. You can get one of those guys and you can project them. It's a win. You hit when you hit and you lose when you fucking lose, And it's just one of those situations. Like, I love that defense down in Indy and the way they were running it. And it was times when I loved it here. I absolutely love this defense sometimes here, man, because I'm so familiar with it. And so I'm always down with defense first. I'm one of those old school minds that really believes, and I'm not that old person that's 80 years old talking about, all this old Dick Bucket stuff. I'm talking about, I know what defense does to win you championships. If anybody was ever in argument with me about whether or not that concept even rings true today, all you had to do was watch the goddamn Super Bowl and tell me defense didn't win that game.
Nobody's going to argue that. You know what I mean? Like, defense is important, and that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about the Dennis Allen hire, right? Like, I just finished saying I'm excited about the Ben Johnson hire, but I'm also excited on what they've done on the other side of the ball too. I don't think there's going to be an extreme drop-off from where Matt Eberflus left if if we can shore up those two positions on the D line, got to shore up the nose and you got to shore up the other edge rusher. You get those two guys, and I think finally you can start to do the stuff that Matt Eberflus was trying to do. I think you can also start to attack, be aggressive. So I'm hype about the whole coaching situation, and even moreover, it's not like those two guys have a major connection with each other. They don't. They're not friends. Dennis Allen's a douche. I'm sure they'll have it out at some point, and vice versa.
I like that douche.
I do too. I like them both, and it goes the same way for Ben Johnson, and that's cool. They need to hold each other accountable. It can't just be a and that's what we've been getting from Matt Eberflus for 3 or 4 years, whatever the time frame was. It's also what we were getting with the Nagy case scenario too. A lot of As soon as Vic left, it was I don't know what's going on over there. I'll talk to I don't know what's going on over there. I also don't know what's going on with the guys I'm dealing with. But here we are. I think we're in a really good spot by way of coaching. Coaching does matter, and the question is, can this collection of coaches develop players? I believe that they can, just from looking at the tenure of these coaches. Again, with the exception of Declan Doyle, I believe Declan Doyle is going to be something else for us, and we'll have to wait and see. Like the way Ben Johnson said it is, he's a future Ben Johnson, and I believe that, and I hope that that's the case. If that is the case, he's just giving a young man an opportunity to shine, and if he can shine, great. All more power to you. The rest of the stuff is about development, and I would like to see that on the field. I would like to see that actually occur, because we haven't seen a lot of it lately.
That's what I'm gonna have to do, is see it on the field. I've heard that shit before about what somebody is. Some of these guys, they're dead ass right about some of these guys, and they just need opportunity, just like everybody else. Somebody probably thought highly of you, and nobody knew who the hell you were in your profession. You know what I mean? Yep. And somebody stepped up and said, you know what? I'm clearing the base, and I'm gonna give him the bat and let him take a swing. You know what I mean? And so I appreciate and respect that, because I can go in so many different areas of my life when somebody said, you know what? I like this motherfucker, man. I'm finna open this door for him. You know what I mean? And I respect the shit out of that, because it's happened to me so many times in my life. Somebody saw something in me. I'm talking about outside of football players, easy. All these teams offering me scholarships because I was talented. But in your professional life, that's only going to last so long. When you get professional and you have to go out and make a living for yourself, somebody's got to probably say, you know what? All right, get him out of my office. Let me get the next guy in here. Somebody said, I like this kid. Just give him an opportunity. And that happened time after time after time in my life. So I'm not poo-pooing that.
People need opportunity, and I agree with it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. But let's get to this before we got to talk about this. So, all right, let me tee this up. And so there was word out. I don't know if you heard it. And I heard Jeremy Fowler. I think my guy Hayes over at Chicago Bear Central is the one podcast that I did look at. And that's how I found the information that the Bears were, quote unquote, zeroing in on 3 free agents. And one of them was Will Freeze down in Indianapolis. The other one was Aaron Banks over in San Francisco, guard. And, of course, Dalman down in Atlanta, the center. So I don't know if you heard that. I could not find any Jeremy Fowler, and maybe because I don't know what the hell to look at, but I guess on Twitter, Jeremy Fowler mentioned that. I could not find it, but that was poignant. And if that's the case, then he probably knows something.
Where's Jeremy Fowler play?
Jeremy Fowler's he's a reporter for ESPN.
Oh, so you're saying that was the report that Jeremy Fowler made?
That's what Hayes said on Chicago Bear Central. Not trying to put Hayes out there, but I seen this. I looked at the very first part of his podcast. That's what he said. Now I look further, and this is dude on Twitter called Slick Rick or something, and I think he's a reporter with a bullshit account, and just reporting stuff that he's hearing, some kind of agent or something like that. And he's got a bullshit account. His name was Pretty Ricky, and then his name is Slick Rick now, and he's been hitting dimes. You
The
know,
ruler. Sorry.
I'm just saying, I think, some of these guys make these accounts, these agents, these reporters, so they don't have to go out there and put their name on the line. They make these little accounts so that they can say the stuff that they're hearing and they think is true, and they don't have to put their name behind it. It's all, stuff that they're hearing right now. So basically, that's what I think that account is.
Well, smoke and mirrors out there, especially in Twitterverse, but I'm interested in Dalman. I don't know if Atlanta will keep him. Looks like he's unrestricted at this point. I don't believe he's been, I don't think he's been re-signed or franchise tagged or anything to that effect. So, franchise tag a center, that's kind of new. I've never seen that. But anyhow, I think he's in line for a decent payday, and I think the Bears should definitely target him and make that payment. He's only 27 years old. It works out.
Who are we talking about?
Dalman.
Well, let's talk about him first. Well, let me. You can reiterate what you just said, but let me tell you what I saw on film. Now, I only had time to really, really watch. So when I looked at the film on Dalman, and I seen some film before this, but today when I went to look at him again, I wanted to put him against the best defensive front that I can think of right at that time. And the games that were up on the YouTube menu were Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got a really strong defensive front. You got Ogunjobi, you got number 97, they've got guys, man. They got guys that can really, really get after you. What I was impressed about him is how easily he picked up the stunts in the games, the pick stunts, all that kind of stuff that goes on. He's really, really strong in his lower body. I'm not gonna say that his pass pro was perfect. It's not. He's a solid. Best thing I can say about Drew Dalman is the consistency was there. You know what I mean? And that's really at the end of the day, that's pretty much what you expect to see from a center, and that's what you want. It's some consistency. Can you anchor well against a bull rush? I saw that. He was pretty good anchoring against the bull rush. Twists and stunts, all that kind of stuff. I thought he was solid. I need to go look at more tape on Drew Dalman. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have not seen enough tape on Drew Dalman. What I saw was just a real quick little glimpse into what I think he can bring to the table for the Bears. I just thought the efficiency in his consistency was pretty good, and that's real settling for coaches and GMs, that you're going to bring in a player that's going to give you some consistent work and consistent, you're going to get some production out of this guy. Now, he's 26 years old, 6'3", 305 pounds. If you make a move for this guy, just know that you're sticking with this guy for the next 5 years or so. You may not have to sign him to a contract worth that, but it's going to be 3 to 4 years if you're going to get him. You're going to have to offer him that. And so that doesn't leave room for a draft pick. And another thing I would just say, and this is probably the most important thing that I can say about Drew Dalman, it's a simple fact that I don't think there's a chance in hell he's getting out of Atlanta. Now, this is one little additional point that I will make about Drew Dalman and Atlanta. He's been playing for a guy for 4 years, and so have 2 or 3 of those other guys on that offensive line. I think that unit together, this might not make a whole lot of sense what I'm about to say, but I think them as a unit are better than Drew Dalman as the individual. That's what I would say based on what I've seen so far. Drew Dalman, I think, is talented, but you pull him out of that situation that he's used to and comfortable with, and you put him in this situation with all these new pieces around him, I don't think you see the same Drew Dalman. He's got experience with these guys, and you could tell that nothing in that offensive line, anything they've seen, pass rush, in the run game, there was nothing new to them. They knew what they were doing. The experience and the chemistry that they had together, I think, really showed up more than Drew Dalman and his individual play. It was them as a unit, and it takes time to build that. And so that's what I would say. If I'm Atlanta Ain't no way in the hell Drew Dalman leaving there. I don't think he's going to hit the market. That's just me.
So here's the thing. So that leaves you drafting a center. Like you got to do something. You got to do something with the center situation. I believe the deal with Coleman Shelton also makes him a potential free agent at the center, at the center position. So you got to shore up the position in some capacity. No two ways about that. I'm not so sure. Like, part of the general idea in free agency here is getting the positions shored up so that you can spend the draft capital on other things, right? So far, it hasn't been super helpful with us at the center position. It just hasn't been. But in the same breath, I do have to say, Coleman Shelton was not the worst center in the world. I just got to say it.
It was.
I know you say that, but I am going to remind you of our previous two centers.
I think Sam Mustard was better than that motherfucker.
No chance he was. He was not.
Man, get out of here.
Sam Mustapher was not better than Coleman Shelton. Reason being, Coleman Shelton can actually snap the football. Like, he can snap the football. He can. Cody White here was not better. Coleman Shelton can snap the football. The one guy that I will say might have been better, you just never got the chance to do it, was Lucas Patrick. Lucas Patrick played like 2 games at center, moved over to guard, busted his finger, and then busted something else.
Coleman Shelton also was plan B. That was supposed to be Ryan Bates.
Supposed to be Ryan Bates. So are we going to play Ryan Bates at guard, or are we going to play him at center? Right. So this is all of these things are still in question. I don't know what that looks like. I think, next time somebody actually speaks, Greg Braggs, if you're listening, if you do, ask about Ryan Bates and where Poles plans to play him moving forward, where he's planned to be played at guard. Because if he's being planned to play and start at guard, that means we need technically one less guard, right? So just little things to note. They need to shore up the positions, shore up those holes, so that they can really make an impactful strike in this draft. And there's so many talented players at all of the positions of need that I think Ryan Poles can really come out of this draft and free agency period with a really nice trench case scenario, as well as some crazy weapons.
Hey, let me say something, man. Illy, you guys should hit the join button and become members. Scottish Bear, you should become a member. Jay Capone, you should become a member. Bear Truth 9, you should become a member. I'm telling you guys, I'm looking at a bunch of comments, man. And, I love our members over here. And I'm glad we only have a certain amount of, I appreciate these guys. And it's only $4.99 a month. But the memberships, I really want them to be real. I don't care what kind of fans they are, but I want them people to really know football. And really, I understand why they come over here and look at this content. I understand why. Nobody has to explain to me that we know what we're talking about over here as far as these players, the prospects, the players in free agency. But these comments that I'm looking at, I'm just telling you guys, become a member, man. And it's going to be more valuable than it is right now today. Only thing you'd be doing right now is helping us really expand the channel and get some stuff going on that we need to get going on technically with the channel. But I'm telling you, later on down the line, you're going to be glad that you did, because the values of some of these comments tells me that I know I'm talking to football people.
You're talking. You are. I do know what you mean. You're talking to knowledgeable football people for sure. By all means, like, share, subscribe, and definitely become a member of the Nomad Network. I just want to, I want to hit that Atlanta can't afford them. Atlanta's negative $5 million in cap space right now, and that's really due to the Kirk Cousins contract, right? So there's no cutting bait on that. They may be able to save a couple of bucks on it, but there's no real cutting bait on it. So there's that. You know what I'm saying? Like that is a huge issue that they have to figure their way around and circumnavigate. If Drew Dalman's out there ready for a $10 million payout, I don't think they can tag him. I don't think they can afford to tag him if that's what the situation calls for.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm putting those things out there, and if that's the case, and he is a free agent, I think the Bears should really make a strike there. This way, again, you don't have to aim at center this year's draft. Although we all kind of suspect, that center position just needs to be fixed, man. It does. Like,
understand what I'm saying when I tell you I have to look at other teams' content so I can see what those reporters are talking about and what they're saying, what they're hearing. We all locked into Brad Biggs and freaking whoever else is on this beat, and we're so locked into that. And I'm just giving you guys some advice. Go check out some of the reporters from these other teams that we're supposedly targeting these players. Yes, I would love to have Drew Dalman here. I just don't think he's going to get – I think he's on the market now as far as them and their structure and the way they're going about the offseason right now. I just don't think he's going to last on the market. But if he does and he's got options, will he consider Chicago? Should we target him? Yes. Will we consider Chicago as a place where he would sign up, and can they overwhelm me with money to get me there? All that stuff has got to be considered. All of that stuff has got to be considered. When he's a free agent, he has options. And I know we think, because we're Chicago Bear fans, that we should be able to attract anybody that we want to out there in the free agent market. And the truth is, no matter what we think of this team, there's an outside view of this team that isn't ours. And so will he be attracted to Chicago? I think it's going to take probably overpay to get him here, if we can get him.
Well, like I say, I'm not sure if it's really going to be an overpay situation, but you're really talking about his quality at center. Do you feel that he is better than what we have at present? And I'm just going to say,
there's no question about it.
Then we need to do this deal. You know what I mean? I know you're a little bit trepidatious about it. Then the deal needs to be done.
There is no trepidation about that.
Okay, that's what I need to understand. If he's a boost, if he's a step above what we have at center today, then by all means get him. That moves Ryan Bates to one of the guard positions officially, right? Now you're really just looking at a single guard and maybe a left tackle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you need to do. I think Dalman should be look number one. Now you actually have depth with Coleman Shelton at the center position, right? So like that works to me. That works out. Yeah, Illy Jones is asking, why would you not jump at Dalman? You gotta jump at Dalman.
The question isn't whether or not Ryan Post should make a play for him. Of course he should.
Yeah.
Question is, how attractive is Ryan Post in Chicago to Drew Dalman? And if we're being honest with ourselves, we got to think about the variables, man. You got to think about the variables. There are other teams out there. You got to, kids. You got to. And no matter how hard
I get it, and this is why I'm saying you jump out and you go get this guy. And how you do that is you go see the guy immediately when the free agency period opens up, and you make a deal for him. Hey, here's what we're going to pay you to come to Chicago. Is that good? No. All right, let's restructure this. And what are you expecting? What do you want? Go get him. He's a center. You're not going to pay him $20 million. No center makes $20 million. But
Minnesota wants him. San Francisco wants him.
Sure, they do. Like, real talk, San Francisco's got to. They've got to. Did they let go of their center?
I don't know, but I know that those are two other teams that's high.
They got a good center right now.
And those are you talking about teams that are consistently right there in playoff stuff. And so you got to consider all the variables, man. Yeah, I think this is like,
who did you just name? You said San Francisco and who?
San Francisco, Minnesota for sure.
Minnesota needs a center?
That's the word on the street, bro.
Oh, okay. Their offense seemed to work quite fine, especially by way of center to me. But I didn't watch every Minnesota game last season, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure that San Francisco, they just freed up a bunch of cap. Facts of the matter, right? They just freed up a bunch of cap. They've got $15 million in cap right now. So I mean, they could do the exact same thing with Drew Dalman. Like, obviously there's reasons that there are reasons that could be made that would push him elsewhere. But
Minister Charles, I'm just giving y'all the word in these YouTube and NFL streets. I'm just telling y'all what they're talking about in the streets, man.
Yeah. And again, that's all of those things are possible. I can't argue with that. But this is why you go and you find him first, and you go, hey man, we want you. We think you'd be a great piece with Chicago. What do we need to make this deal? And you do the same thing with his agent. Clearly, you do it with the agent first before you talk to him, and then you get the agent to bring the dollars and cents to him. But that's my thoughts there. You pay him good money. You might pay him a little bit over market, just a little bit. Make the guy happy. Make him a Chicago Bear.
Here's my final thought on Drew Dalman. I think the conversation intensifies, and within the next 7 days, if he remains a free agent and they haven't made a move to re-sign him and whatever it is to try to get him back on the roster, if he's not back on that roster and re-signed to a new contract in 7 days, then I think the conversation intensifies. I'll get way more serious about, what he can bring to the Bears and if Ryan Poles should make a play for him. But yes, I think he should make a play for him. It's just about, all the other variables involved, man. That's all I'm saying. That's not that I'm saying that they shouldn't make a play for him. It's just you got to consider everything, before we get to jumping to conclusions about them. We don't have them yet. They still have them, and they got an option to keep them in Atlanta. And so we'll get to that.
Something else to be said about San Francisco that Bear Truth 9 is throwing out there. What up, BT9, man? Always good to have you on the show. They don't have any money. They still got to throw 50. So I said they got 50 million in cap space. They have to sign a deal with Brock Purdy that's in and around 50 mil.
I don't think they will.
Well, they need somebody to throw the football.
I think Aaron Rodgers is probably more likely than Brock Purdy right about now.
I'm going to say he's not in Aaron Rodgers' mind. Yes. in the brain of Aaron Rodgers, yes, he has a line of sight to San Francisco. I couldn't imagine a situation where San Francisco moves off a quarterback that's performing extremely well. He's youthful. He's going to be here and healthy, be in San Francisco and healthy for the next few years. I know they don't want to pay him top of the league quarterback money. I get that. But do you want to pay Aaron Rodgers top of the league quarterback money? My guy played one snap in New York and died. It was out for a year. And they just went through that with Jimmy G, right? Like, they just went through the exact same thing. No, man, keep the young man, pay the young man. Don't go fishing in old man Rogers Lake, man. Leave that shit alone, bro. Leave it alone. But there's other places, there's other teams who will be looking at old man Rogers, like the Raiders. Like there's teams. He'll find some place to go. I just don't think just imagine what we're talking about. If San Francisco moves off Brock Purdy, there's a fantastic proven young quarterback on the market who's available to any team.
So check out Cocaine Bear, who's saying some stuff in here that proves to me why I need to watch more tape on Drew Dalman. I only got to watch. I'm busy with these college prospects. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't really have time to be watching Drew Dalman's fat ass on film, but I might need to now. But Cocaine Bear, you want to read what he's saying?
I will. I don't know what anyone saw in Dalman. His snapping was a literal nightmare. Problem: one of the worst pass blocking centers in the league. His run blocking on PFF looks good because Bijan yards after contact. Okay.
I'm just saying, man. I need to watch more film on him and give you guys a little bit that I've seen.
Let's just break that down just a little bit further. Kirk Cousins did not have a good year behind him this season, and running the football, yeah, you might say that they do, not just Bijan, but also Tyler Algier. Both those running backs are fantastic. So that might let his run prowess look a little bit better. If you're telling me snaps were an issue, that's step A for all centers. So if you can't snap, I don't want to even have the conversation.
Well, we got to get to the next guy. We can get back to Dalman.
Let's do it. Let's go.
That's like the hot name right here. Everybody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's get to this guy right here, Aaron Banks, out of San Francisco, 6'5", 325 pounds, 27 years old. You sign this guy right here, and you got to put him. He's in that first contract mode. You gotta ink him for at least 3 years minimum. There's no 2 year, 1 year. Nope. This is going to be your guard on the left side in particular. Why? Because I took a look at his tape too. Aaron Banks came in the league, and I think he was out of Notre Dame. He's a pile driver, man. He's a road grader, man. That's what he does, man. He really excels in the run game. His pass pro really struggled when they drafted him because they put him on the right side as a, that was I guess you can call that a trial run, but it was clear to them that he was better on the left side with left technique, and he took off from there. And this is why he's in free agency right now. And there's a chance that some team is going to give him a nice piece of change here. Because on the left side, not only did he excel in the run game, but you saw his pass pro really try to take off there, man. And I was pretty impressed, man. But here's the thing about Aaron Banks. All that being said, there's like 30, 40 Aaron Banks in the draft. And I understand, you're trying to beef up this roster for next year. I'm just saying, he's talented, man. And if you sign him, you got a left tackle for a long time because he's built to withstand every bit of the punishment that comes with playing left tackle in the NFL when you like to run the ball. He's built for that. That's what's attractive about him. He's built for a team that likes to run the ball. That's why he's good in San Francisco. And we want to really emphasize running the ball here in Chicago. And so, yeah, I can definitely see why he became an attractive piece out there. He's definitely built for it. And he's got really nothing. There's really nothing to him that I didn't like. There's some things pass pro wise that he can probably get better at 27 years old. He's definitely going to get better. Switching up and being able to recognize the games, the twist, the stunts, all that kind of stuff that comes with playing guard. You got to be really proficient at that. And, again, I'm going to look at some more tape, but I like what I saw so far. I really did.
Okay. That is a good look. I don't have much on him except he's coming off of a knee injury last season, but he was able to still get 13 games under his belt, which is more than Tevin Jenkins. Same token, he apparently played really well during those 13 games. So I'm a little bit interested. I think you could probably get him at a decent price tag too. So that San Francisco run game was working. So was their passing game. Got to have a lot to do with that offensive line.
Yeah, like I said, and this is my last thoughts on Aaron Banks. There's like 35, 40 Aaron Banks in this draft, man. It's some big, heavy duty. I need to set my line up in a way that I can move people around and establish that on the ground and set up my passing game. If that's what you're trying to do, and when you're targeting guys like this guy right here at 6'5", 325 pounds, obviously you're looking at guys that can really, put an emphasis on I'm gonna make an impression on you as to I'm gonna move you around. You're not gonna move us around. We're gonna really get after you. That's the mindset I'm thinking about when I'm watching Aaron Banks play, knowing he's from San Francisco and that's what they emphasize. It's natural in a situation that Ben Johnson finds himself in, and the offensive line coach, you're going to need to look at some guys in free agency that can really establish it. You can get really established in the front and really get after teams. This guy's going to help you in that regard. Really, really help you. I just don't think for my money is Mekhi Becton. That really is, man. But that's just me. We'll get to the next guy. and that is Will Fries. Will Fries, however you pronounce his name. Now, this guy,
on fries with that shape.
I didn't know a lot about his play, but I took a look at his film. 6'6", 305 pounds. He's also only 26 years old. Another piece that if you sign this guy, there's no, if he hits free agency, which I think he's got a good chance of hitting it. You got to know that this guy, you're going to sign this guy for the next 3 to 4 years. He's going to be, also, you see his play on the right side. His play is on the right side, right guard. And so I think he, at 305 pounds, I was surprised at how well he handled the bull rush. In a little bit that I saw, I need to look at some more. But his agility really stands out, how he can run and move. And you really need somebody beside Darnell Wright that can really get down the field, get on the second and third level, and get after those defenders and really open up your run game. And I think that's probably what they see in Will Fries, is the fact that he can get off that first block and get to the second and third level really quick because his agility is really solid, man. And looking at his film, you can't deny that. It's the movement that's going to stand out to you. The pass pro sets, the run blocking, all that stuff is pretty standard. It's exactly what you expect out of an NFL starting right guard. But where he really shines is when he gets off that first block and gets to the second and third level and really helps that running game open up with Jonathan Taylor. That's where he really excels, is the movement ability. I'm pretty sure that's what they're looking at if they're targeting this kid, and I'm pretty sure they probably are targeting him if they can get him in free agency.
Man, I like fries. Cheese fries, chicken fries, French fries. They're all good fries. End of the day, my guy's very similar in the fact that he was also injured last season.
Let me get into detail about that, because I did look into that, and I thank you for that, kids, because I almost ran past that. And so he had a surgery 4 months ago. He got injured, season-ending injury, and he broke his tibia.
Oh.
And basically he cracked it and busted it open. And in order to get him back to where he needs to be as an athlete, there was 2 things they can do. They can go in and really give him a tight cast and reset his shin. And that's what a tibia is. It's the shin. He broke his shin. I saw the play. I saw exactly what happened. He got caught up and tangled up into a play, and he got rolled up, and he just completely broke it. And he got carted off, and that was only 4 months ago. So they decided, I believe, now I might be wrong, but listening to the surgeon who was describing the injury, it's almost mandatory that they had to put a screw and rod in there. And so not only are you the fact that he's 26 years old helps, right? He's got a young body, and the ability to be able to repair what the damage was is pretty high. But there's no getting away from the fact that you're going to sign a guy that just got a season injury, ending injury, and had to have surgery, and got a rod placed into his leg. You got to consider that. You got to consider that, and that's just out there.
So his market value is $14 million, and you just said some stuff, right? So if he's like, I don't know how ready he's going to be for the beginning of this season, but they're sure as hell going to need him. You know what I mean? If they're putting the money in. So
recovery process is 6 to 8 weeks for the surgery for him to have the leg. So basically they can take the wrappings off, and they can, take the stitches out, and whatever happened in the surgery, he's going to be able to start rehab in 6 to 8 weeks. So imagine 4 months ago, add on 6 to 8 weeks to that. Now he's starting the rehab process. Is he going to be ready for the regular season?
Probably. Okay.
You think so?
Probably. Possibly.
That's a whole ass leg, man.
Yeah, he got a couple. Like, if we're talking about it, it is the lower leg. It's not the femur. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I doubt they would have to put screws in there. If they do, they would have to.
I'm pretty sure they put screws in it.
I don't think so.
Trust me, I did a little homework on it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. If they got to put screws in there, they got to remove the screws. So that'll take another month or so. and then he's got to get used to playing on it again. At point being, at $14 million, it's a little bit questionable. Yes, corny. Yes, corny. Yes, corny.
Read what he's saying, man.
The Bears have to trade back from 10 to get more draft picks. None of these old linemen is worth a number 10 pick. Like, you're right. You're right.
I don't know about that.
Like, maybe, man, like the pick we're likely going to be looking at would be Banks. I don't think he's worth pick number 10.
No, he's not worth 10.
Then you trade back and you get a nursery or a Membo.
There's some other dudes, man.
Or Bo. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's my I'm so right there with you, Corny. Like, I'm so with you. You just trade back. Or like the flip side of this coin is that they get the edge rusher.
Well, one of the other two. While we got Will Freeze on the screen, let's just stay here.
Yes.
The probabilities right here are, if he's being targeted, how efficient do you think this move would be in free agency? You got a guy that just came off of that's a pretty aggressive injury. You know, you got a complete break of the tibia, and you had to have surgery. Now, I'm not 100% sure that they put a rod and screws in there, but I'm pretty sure that they did. How risky is this right here?
It's risky because you also got Braxton Jones coming off of a surgery too. So now you've got two starters on that line that you're paying. Well, you're paying good money to this guy, not necessarily good money to Braxton, but you haven't filled the hole. Tibia fries. Scrolls. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't know if Ryan Poles can really make this particular move, just given what we're talking about.
I guess that's where I'm getting at, kid. That's what I'm getting at. Is, are we in a position to make a risky move like this? Now, you do this if you're pretty sure about whatever guard you're going to get out of this draft, and you're pretty sure he's a plug and play guy, and you don't have to depend on Will Freeze to be your starting guard.
So
that's, to me, that's the only way you do this.
Can't even do that, because like, why are you paying $14 million a year potentially for another starting guard if you're going to draft the guard and start him? And like, if that kid plays well, what do? You pay Will Freeze $14 million a year to sit on the bench?
Well, you're not gonna pay him probably what the market share requires, just because of the fact you got him over a barrel. You're just coming off a surgery, and you're probably still trying to rehab and get the strength back up in your legs. Now you don't have to offer him, and this is where it gets sticky. Does he even want to come to a place where he's not going to be considered as a starter because you're going to be in rehab? This is all kinds of variables to this. I'm knowing for sure. I'm pretty sure we're going to draft a couple interior tackles, interior guards. I know we're going to do that. It's going to, whether they're early or late, I know we're going to end up with a couple of interior football players on the offense. I know that. And one of them, at least, is going to be projected as a starter, maybe both of them. But one way or another, he's going to run into competition. Is this situation in Chicago where he wants to be, where it's questionable whether he even have a starting job?
Yeah. I don't, like I say, at 14 mil, and that's it. That's his market value. I don't know if I would. I don't think they have the luxury of testing these waters. That's my two. I'm just saying, with Will Fries, I don't think they have the luxury, man.
So before I take this guy off the screen, this is a great exercise in looking at, and there's an equation in every one of these scenarios, right? When you say every one of these scenarios, you got it's a full out ass equation, and you have to consider every variable there. And if that means, does Indianapolis value him? Does other teams value him? What is his injury concern? What is that? how does that variable factor into it? You know, what does Chicago by itself, how does that factor into the equation? Is Chicago attractive enough to Will Freeze? Of course, if they can offer him the right amount of money. But is Chicago in the position to be talking about offering a guy major money that just came off an injury? What happened with Larry Ogunjobi? That was the same exact thing. You know, he was coming off of a foot surgery, and you know, he came to the physical part of getting his money, and they failed him. Let's just say they decide they want to sign Will Freeze, and he gets in Chicago, and they go through the physical part of it, and he's still going through his rehab process, and they don't like the strength of his leg, and it's just like, you know what, they failing you. That's all variables to the equation. It's not that I'm trying to co-sign for anything to happen or not to happen. It's the things you got to consider.
Absolutely. Again, I don't. With the Braxton Jones injury right next, I don't think they have the luxury of another high upside injured player.
Look at what Scottish Bear is saying. And I think that's the key to everything.
That's what I was laughing at. Actually, if Post gets this offseason wrong, he fries.
Yeah, you can't fuck this up.
No,
you can't get it wrong. You got to hit all home runs, homie. You got to hit all home runs.
And I don't think it's hard. I honestly don't. I think he has the ability to hit home runs this time around. I think he can. This draft class is again, I don't think the top end of this draft class is interesting. They're very talented players, but I think the sweet spot is basically picks 25 and later. That's where I think the sweet spot in this draft is. And if he focuses on that, he can really make the draft a thing. But in order to do that, you still got to shore up a couple of these positions, and that's why we're looking at these particular players. Who you got next?
That's it. You know, we can talk about Chase Young if you want to.
I mean, like he should be a conversation piece, or somebody at that edge should be a conversation piece. I think you need to get that edge squared away in free agency. This way, basically what Bear Truth was saying, this way, then you really don't need to stay at 10 at all. I'm also going to say that you get a transitional left tackle this season. That's my thoughts. You pay the money for the edge rusher, you get an older veteran transitional leader at left tackle. Why? Because Braxton Jones is hurt.
I didn't. Illy's asking me. He says, "Why don't you like Banks?" I never said I didn't like him. I just didn't think I don't think he's worth the 10th pick.
I don't think so either.
I just think he's talented, but I don't 10 pick talented. I don't think so, man.
Yeah,
I think there's, as a matter of fact, I think there's several offensive lineman tackles at left tackle that I think are better than him. I can think of 3 at least right off the top of my head. And I like the kid. Don't get me wrong. I think he's uber talented. He's got a lot of upside, but as compared to some of the other guys that I've looked at, I think there's guys more talented. He's just a guy that's high profile right now. I think that's how I feel about him. It's not that I don't think he's a talented guy and could be a good pick. I just don't think he's as talented as some of these other guys. Oh, you want me to name them? I think Jalen Travis is more talented. I think he's got a better upside. I think Anthony Belton could probably be a better tackle than him on the left-hand side. I think Mimbo. Let me think. Talking about upside. Ooh, man, I can think of some guys that can switch over to left tackle that are right tackles right now. That's got the athletic ability and just the agility to be able to do it. Like Fathery from Texas A&M. He's very impressive. I could see him going to the other side. There's several other guys, man. I just don't, just because somebody's telling me somebody's talented and is this good at 10, I look at the tape myself and I judge it from there and let the chips fall where they may. It's not that I'm trying to shoot down everybody else's thoughts and comments about any of them. I just tell you what I think about it and And that's just what it is. Not that I think I'm knowing more than anybody else. I just tell you what I think. That's it.
Well, I'm in a similar mode. I did not see a lot for I feel like the drop off from Will Campbell to Kelvin Banks is relatively large. And the difference between Banks and the guys that you brought up, again, including a couple of guys who've played on the right, is different, right? I think he's much closer to the rest of the pack than he is to Will Campbell, right? So if you can't get Will Campbell at 10, which we likely won't be able to get, I wouldn't have a problem moving back.
That's another one. Oregon tackle talking about Josh Connolly Jr. That's another one. I think he's more technically sound after
Banks.
After Will Campbell. Technically, I think he's probably better than everybody. You're talking about they're 1A and 1B as far as technique goes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, it's a offensive line is something I'm learning to get better at evaluating. But I'm telling you, man, I think I'm exactly where I need to be right now and getting better and better and better at it. But I'm telling you, there's guys better than Aaron Banks, and I like Aaron Banks. I'm just telling you.
Not Aaron Banks, Kelvin Banks. But I'm with you. But that's what I'm saying. I think you go and you get, man, you fix left tackle with an older vet this time around. I think that's what you do. And I ain't talking like, you're on a fishing boat old, just old enough to be a leader at the position.
Josh Connolly, I'm putting it in the chat right now, Illy. I know you in here mad and you don't like what I'm saying, but I'm just telling you.
Well, he's really just saying he's leaning towards Kelvin Banks at 10, which the Bears may be. I just don't. I disagree. I think the Bears should trade back. That's my thought.
I think so too. I don't think you don't need to take a tackle right there.
I don't think you need to. I think, in my opinion, I think the edge rushers in that range are much more impactful than the left tackle is if it's not Campbell.
Ain't no goddamn question about it. Ain't no question about it, kids. You are absolutely 110% right about that. Yeah. The tackles that, I think people think there's a drop-off after Will Campbell and Aaron Banks. What is his name? Whatever Banks is first, Kelvin Banks. That's his name. I think people think there's a huge drop-off after him. And depending on who's coaching your offensive lineman, there probably is. But if you got really good offensive line coaches in your building, there's no drop-off. None whatsoever. And that's why people are telling you, the offensive line part of what people are telling you about the second round of the draft is going to be way sweeter. This is a really sweet, thick part of the draft. And the fact that we've got 2 picks in there is going to be really good for us if we need trench work. And so, you don't got to get that first offensive lineman that you see on the board, right away at that 10th pick. You don't. You can pull back, but you got to be confident enough and not be afraid and listening to what everybody else is saying about these players. You got to be straight up. There's got to be some conviction from Ryan Poles and the coaching staff here. Believe in what you see on tape. Believe that if this guy ain't in this certain spot, believe that he's going to, if he falls a little bit, you'll be able to get him a little bit later. And if that's an offensive guard, offensive tackle, whatever it is, just trust it. Because I'm telling you, tackle is not a weakness in this draft. I don't think so.
I'm here looking at left tackles in free agency now, because that's what I think they should do. Like straight up and down. I think you avoid the left tackle early in this draft. Get him next year for sure after you put a stopgap in place that can shore up the line. That's my thought. Same token, maybe Braxton comes back and he's great. Maybe Karan steps into his role and you don't have to do it. That's really my thoughts on left tackle at this point. I think you get a guy who knows what he's doing, like maybe Cam Robinson from the Vikings, or Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley's like the consummate name. Both these guys are a little bit up in age, but not so old that it should be a problem for the next couple of years. You got a leader. They do the darn thing.
Yeah. We're starting to get ready to round it off, man, because I think we covered everything we need to just to save some more content. I'm looking at Twitter, making sure ain't no breaking news. I'm not seeing nothing noteworthy. Nothing at all. I do think though, in the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm getting the sense that some stuff is going to change. I think something's going to happen, whether it be a move in the trade market. I do think that trade window is wide ass open quietly, especially after what happened with Debo. You know, the trade window is really, really open, and you getting a Debo Samuels that's going for a 5th round pick. Anything can happen right about now, can't
it? Well, they don't have any cap room, so they got to make room for Brock Purdy. So it's not as shocking as it may sound. Have to do it. So there's that.
I don't think they're gonna sign that motherfucker.
Who?
I think they're gonna sign. He ain't gonna get what he thinks he's gonna get.
Well, they don't want to. Let's rephrase that. Then.
So I think it's a bad signing.
You don't think they're gonna? You think it's a bad signing?
Absolutely.
Come on now. What are you
I don't
talking
think Brock Purdy's that good. I think he's efficient. They got a lot out of him for somebody that got drafted where he got drafted. But as a goddamn giving him, hell no. He ain't the answer.
Look,
come on, man. I don't care how much you think of Brock Purdy. That motherfucker ain't that guy good.
I don't think all that much about Brock Purdy either, but there's just factuality and there's opinion. The kids put up 4,200 yards, almost 4,000.
I know what I see on film.
We've never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards. You should give a shit.
He's losing. He's just lost Debo Samuel. He's probably going to lose Ayuk. And that's if Ayuk can get to a team that wants that contract. But holy shit, they ain't paying that man no. Let that motherfucker hit. Let him go. Let him go. They crazy if they pay that guy.
He's a 4,000 plus yard passer, almost twice.
Most of it is run after catch.
Okay.
It sounds like to me he's got hella athletes around him that can run after the catch. It ain't nothing that he's just busting people up down the field or dotting up the field. Man, Brock Purdy's a system quarterback. Put his ass in New England right now. Man, he'd be on the struggle bus at the front part of it, getting his ass kicked as soon as he get off of there.
You realize he threw for 31 touchdowns in 2023?
I don't give no shit about no box number.
Like but when was the last time a Chicago Bears quarterback threw for 31 touchdowns, bro?
That's a weak ass comparison. I'm talking about whether they're talking about max contract money for him.
I'm also in agreement with you that they probably shouldn't pay him max contract money. I would try to figure my way around that situation as it stands. They don't want to pay him $50 million. I don't think they should pay him $50 million.
I hope they pay him.
But I think they should pay him.
I hope they pay him. Let him get his money.
I hope they do too, because I'm not a super big fan of the San Francisco 49ers. I'm just being real. I'm not a fan. After the Trubisky fleecing, I hope terrible things happen to the franchise. That being said, I do think that Brock Purdy has earned his contract, and somebody needs to pay him something. Let's just take a look at what his $59 million is his market value.
I hope money. I'm not trying to shoot him down, but I ain't paying his ass. Nope. You're gonna hit the free agent market. I'm a draft. If I'm the 49ers, I'm gonna try to see if I can get Jalen Milroe or somebody like that. But I'm not paying that guy that kind of money. He is not a difference maker. He doesn't hurt you.
Took him to the playoffs, bro.
Man, I don't give a shit, dude. I see what I see. That was a hot ass season. What has he done since?
Since that, he put up 20 plus touchdowns and just under 4,000 yards passing.
What I'm getting at is the opportunities out there. Like, all right, here's another conversation. This is get off Brock Purdy because I just don't think he's that good. It's like max money good. That's crazy. But another thing that's out there, so the Cowboys basically put Trayvon Diggs out there on the market if they can't trade him, which I don't think they're going to be able to. The connections here with somebody will pay him. He'll get his money good.
I'm just saying.
I hope he does.
If it ain't San Francisco, somebody going.
I'm not trying to push his money down. I'm just saying, like dog, man. I think you need to be way more dynamic than that. But anyway, Trayvon Diggs is probably on the market now for the Cowboys, and the connection with Al Harris. And I know he just got paid. I think he got paid like was it 4 or 5 years, $97 million. Like half of it was guaranteed or something like that. But he's going to be out there looking for another team if he can't find a trade. And he's had an injury history the last couple of years. You know, I know it ain't a whole lot to talk about there because we got plenty of corners. But Trayvon Diggs, the connections to Al Harris, it was worth bringing up for at least a brief conversation, or at least say, no, man, shut the fuck up, man. At least that.
Wow. Look, you're bringing up an interesting thing. There's a potential out in his contract this season. You know, they can sort of make a move. They wind up eating whoever switches over, they wind up eating $12 million of dead cap. The other team effectively picks up his contract at $33 million. He's signed clean up until 2028. So, you know, that's basically
2029, bro.
Say what?
Thought it was 2029.
Well, he's a free agent in 2029. But yeah, he's got a fair amount of contract still left to go, and that's cool. But I hope to God it ain't the Bears. I got no problems with you, Trayvon. You're a badass corner, bro. You're badass. But I like what we got going on in our secondary. So I don't think you want to lock up $30+ million to anybody over there. I think that's a mistake.
Little side comment before we come back to Trayvon Diggs. Stafford, 2 years, $100 million. He's worth every single dime of it. I haven't seen, and I love Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the best quarterback in football. Let me tell you something. I like watching quarterbacks playing how they operate. I don't know that there's a better quarterback in football outside of just put Patrick Mahomes in his own little space. And the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFL, Matthew Stafford is the creme de la creme. I haven't seen better quarterback play from a quarterback. He's worth every dime. The only reason they're in the position that they're in, and I think they're in striking distance in LA. I really do. I think they're in striking distance in LA. That guy is balling. I mean, balling. The quarterback play, the decision making, the timing when he gets the ball out of his hands, he keeps the defense on its heels. That guy is balling and worth every. I've never seen him play better football. And I've been watching him his whole career, even since he was at Georgia. That guy has never played better football. And he is worth every bit. In that 2 years, I think he can, if they can get lucky and just it takes a certain amount of luck and attrition and injury and all that kind of stuff when you're making playoff runs. If they can get healthy and maybe get a game changer or two, maybe a game changer, I think they can win another one down there just because of how good Matt Stafford is playing.
Well, let's take a look here. Like, you can't. It's hard to pay everybody, especially when you're paying your quarterback. So if
he ain't going nowhere. If they want to win one, he's got to stay.
Oh, I'm with it. I think it was the right move. I don't think they should have moved off of Matt Stafford, because what the heck? They're just not prepared to do anything but Facts is okay. Well, $100 million deal. So that hasn't showed up on this here on Spot Track. Is really where we're at.
That's what he's talking about. What they're speculating he's going to end up with.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds about right. So he's owed. Let's look at what he's at. Potential out in 2025, $50 million dead cap. So he's actually signed up until 2026. They're just paying him his money out.
He's worth every bit of it.
He's owed $50 million for the next 2 years. So
I think
sorry. That's the cap hit is a 49 and a $53 million cap hit. He's owed 23. Where's the bonus?
I think the 2-year plan for Matthew Stafford is perfect because I think that's all he's got left.
He's signed for 2 years, so I would agree that makes him 38 years old. Keep him around for 2 years. Like that $100 million situation is actually like a little bit of a bump. It's a little bit of a bump because he would really be making like he would be making about 80 mil. So he's got about a $20 million lift there over the course of the next 2 years, which is a good move.
Scottish Bear. That's why you should be a Super Nomaniac. He said the Rams are going to be contenders in the next year or two. Nobody has drafted better than the Rams in the last 2 years. Earlier injuries in the season basically subdued them. I think that's kind of what he wants. That's what I want to say. This season come and watch the Rams. He's saying exactly what I'm saying. They've drafted very well. I would say, it's hard to argue who's drafted better than the Rams, man. It's hard to argue that argument. I'm trying to find one. I guess you can say Philly drafted well. I think Philly drafted very well.
Philly's drafted the best, period. Yes.
But the Rams are right there. Let me think of another team that's been drafting really well lately and hitting on them. Oh, God, man. I want to say it's hard to argue those two teams, man. That's just how well they've been drafting. It's hard to argue those two teams, but I know there's another team out there. Maybe a Buffalo or
I wouldn't.
Kansas City's been drafting well too. They have. Purdy, I don't know I think his contract is running out.
He's in his final rookie year of his rookie deal. He was
at best they might franchise his ass and just see
franchise.
That's at best that's the most money he's going to get. But I'm like Cornelius Squalls. The 49ers don't realize that their playoff window and Super Bowl window is closed. And they still think they're drunk, stumbling around, thinking they're the champ. You know what I mean? And they still think they can get a ring, and they're gonna pay this motherfucker all this money, and for what?
Well, they just let go of both. Like they're looking at letting go both their wide receivers. How do they believe that they're in the window anymore?
Hey, they in their minds, you know how this thing works. People are in their bunkers. They're in their tribe, man. They believe that they're the team to beat in their minds. They think so. They drafted like San Francisco's been drafting very well for the last 7 to 10 years. You know, that's another team out there.
Texans, Cocaine Bear, Texans would be another one of them.
Texans, good. Yeah, they are drafting.
Good drafting teams. You're right. Definitely the Texans. And you got to look at just the Will Anderson and the Jared Verse. Those are first round picks. Those were known commodities. But if you look at Puka Nacua and Tank Dell, who they got in both cases relatively later in the draft, well scouted, well selected wide receiver talent, and both have come out to play, right? Not to mention, like, we could talk about we really talk about Texans. Texans have done a great job.
Man, some of the sleeper guys that the Rams have drafted, the interior tackles that they drafted. It's a couple of dudes they got. Kobe something. No, it ain't Kobe. But they got a couple of interior tackles that I was might be. I can't remember the names of them right now. I just got too many damn too many damn players in my head. That's why I'm having these brain farts. But the interior guys, the 3-techs, and they play with a lot of 2-3-tech scenarios, man. They put a lot of their formations run 2-tech games, 2-3-tech games, I meant. And the guys that they've drafted in the last couple of years, it's a fast ass defense, kids. They really get after people really, really fast. And everybody thought that they were going to tail off because of
Aaron Donald left. You're right.
They just doubled down in the draft and made sure that they got a plethora of guys that can really replace that production. And then they won.
Cornelius nailed it. You're right, Cornelius. And that's what I was saying. Getting those quality players later in the draft is a little bit of a thing. And both the Texans and the Rams have done a great job at it. I have to give both of those teams exactly that level of props. So yeah, they will be a team to contend with, unfortunately, in the NFC. But like I say, man, Ryan Poles has the opportunity. I believe he's got the opportunity here to really do some damage. Like he does. And it has to be a combination of both drafting and free agency this time around. I know he wants to build in the trenches, but I think you push a little bit of this to next year. I think you push the left tackle draft selection to next year. Get a linchpin, get a leader, get an older vet who can shore up that position, pay him what he needs. He's here for 2 years. You draft the left tackle next season. If you want to go on the edge, you can, but I would still suggest you manage the edge with a high caliber edge rusher. Do it. And now you're free, right?
Okay.
You're free.
You know who else has been drafting well? And this is probably going to be like scratching the chalkboard with some long ass fingernails. Minnesota, Detroit, and Green Bay. They've been drafting well, bro. I would say less Minnesota than more Green Bay and Detroit. Those two teams, they've been drafting their ass off, and I know people hate to hear that. But Detroit and Green Bay, especially like Green Bay, I've been really watching them, man. They really been picking up some really good players. Like they got the best linebacker I thought in the draft a couple of years ago. He got hurt this year and then couldn't finish the season. But I think with him on the field, man, Green Bay has been really hitting home runs. Detroit's been the last couple of years, I think they've been hitting some pretty good draft picks. But the guys right in our division, I think our competition in our division, man, we got to outdraft them. We talking about the Rams and, the Texans. And, man, we got to outdraft these guys in our division and make sure we're playing kind of a little bit of defense while we're drafting so that, like, we can't afford, like, I don't remember I don't know if you remember, I can remember talking about, like, we can't let Detroit get Jahmyr Gibbs. I can remember Aldo asking me, he said, Nomad, who do you think is the best running back in this draft? Without flinching, I said Jahmyr Gibbs. I was just like, whatever we do in the draft, we can't let Detroit get him. And I carried it even further. I said, whatever we do, we can't let them get Jamison Williams. And what did they do? Draft both of them motherfuckers. And everything changed after that.
Yep. Well, like the Jahmyr Gibbs one that was interesting to me because I said it to Don after the draft, even after I definitely dissed them trading up. My answer to them trading up was that I wanted us to draft Jahmyr Gibbs. I wanted us to somehow find our way into a situation where we could get him. They leaped ahead of everybody, selected their running back, and they've been off to the races ever since. So, no questions there. Stack on JMO onto all that, and yeah, you got a dangerous little situation happening there. Even though, again, he was hurt at the time, they're able to sort of bide their time and select the wide receiver, wait on him to grow, and here he is. But now we got to do similar things, man. We got to Ryan Poles has to nail free agency in order to nail the draft. I think he can skin this cat. You know what I mean? I think he can. I think he can thread this needle. It's just a couple of things that need to be done. And, look at that Scottish. Yeah, Scottish Bear just lined up the Rafts 2024 draft. It's nuts, man. Holy crap. Everybody's a starter. And they're all good. Cam Kitchens, Blake Corum, good. Braden Fisk is super good. Man.
All over round picks.
Man. And this is what I'm talking about.
We're in that position now. If they can do something and not be so thick-headed and like, I want to keep our guys, you might be willing, you should be probably willing to open up the lanes and the conversations for a trade so you can get a few more picks, man. Because I'm telling you, this is a thick-ass draft. If you really need to bolster up your roster and get a whole bunch of young talent, this is how you do it, man. You gotta not be rigid and be willing to let somebody go that you think is really, really talented, but you think you can get a lot out of. And that's what they mean when you hear people say, trade when the value is high and don't wait too long. When you got high value picks, guys on your team, listen to those conversations when that phone is ringing and you're talking to a team that's right there in that Super Bowl window and they think they're a player or two away and they think you got one of the ingredients to get one of those rings. We know we should be competitive next year. We should hopefully push for the playoffs. But I don't think we consider ourselves as no Super Bowl contending team come next year. But there's other teams that that are. And we have some pieces, one or two pieces there that can help them. Trade high. Trade high. You're in the perfect position to do it.
I hear you, but I also don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to cripple our team in doing so. The fact of the matter is there's not a lot of blue chippers on this team at present. I think by the end of the 2026 season, we're going to realize that there's a whole bunch of blue chippers on this team because they will have drafted better, right? You got 2 seasons to do this draft, 2 seasons. By the end of 2026, I think this team should be vying for a Super Bowl. They should be going deep into the playoffs. But really, it has everything to do with this free agency season. This draft starts now. Clock is ticking. You know what I'm saying?
Howie, our Bears, maybe we'll do a show moving forward. You catch me on the spot like this, my mind's going to go all over the place because I think so highly of so many different guys. I don't want to give you bad information and then I have to live with it because people will be like, hey, remember when Nomad said this? Just wait. We'll do a show like that moving forward, man. We'll do a show like that. But we got to get ready to wrap this thing up, man. I had fun with this one. This was really fun. We got to really just kind of let the gates loose and see what we're thinking about everything. We got the combine that just happened and all the players that got down there, got free agency to talk about, the prospects, all this stuff, man. This is fun to do, man. This is fun to do, but a lot of work nonetheless. But it is absolutely fun and my joy to be able to present to you guys what we've been up to over here at the Nomad Network. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it. All the conversations in the chat, man, make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you do that. And if you're listening to the show or watching the show, hit the subscribe button, man. Please, we need your help. And if you really want to help us out, grab a membership for us, man. That really would help us out, especially at the end of months when we have to pay these bills over here. That will really, really help. Just go to the YouTube channel where you see the icon and go where it says join, right beneath the icon. Just scroll where it says join, hit the join button, and it'll take you from there. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I just want to say that before we get up out of here and pass it on to my guy in Canada, the Canuck, for some pleasantries.
Hey, man. Shout outs to the chat, man. You guys kept it nice and interactive post-combine show. Shout out to the big homie FFG starting things out. Shout out to Howie R Bears. I think that's a great idea. Like, share, subscribe, Howie, and we'll come back with a true answer to the top 5. And I see you throwing your top 5s out there, and it's shaking up. It looks good. Illy Jones, man, Illy Jones. Big shout outs to you, man. Love you, bro. Cocaine Bear, mad love, mad props. Thanks for coming through. Cornelius Squalls, number 2, No Maniac. Always good to have you. Scottish Bear, thanks for chiming in with us for sure. A lot of good information coming from the Scottish Bear as well. Dobbsy34 jumped in with us. Mad love, mad respect. Same thing to Ant Moss. Ant Moss, always good to have you, brother. Who else we got out there? D Rocket Dreams. Big love to D. Big love to the homie Bear Truth 9, BT9 in the chat. Our guy, the Scrolls, cracking jokes as per normal, man. Will Fries, man. Will Fries jokes moves forward. Bears fan Goomba. Nick was out there with us listening, doing the damn job at the same time. Shout out to you, Nick. Thanks for coming through, bro. Who else was out there? Black Diamond was out there with us earlier on. Good shouts. Big shouts to you, sir. Joseph Archer, Super No Maniac Joseph Archer, that is. Victor Perez, Marlon Johnson, shout outs to you, Super No Maniac Marlon Johnson, Super No Maniac, the minister, Charles Johnson was in the mix with us here tonight too. Thank you for keeping it real as you always do. Who else who else is out there in the chat with us? Oh, legit Pac fan, absolutely zero love for you, but thanks for showing the channel some love, bro. We appreciate it. Who else is out there, man? Let me see who's out there. Jacob on the Dawn. Big love, big shout outs. Mr. Mayhem, Joe Vizzo. What it do, Joe? Always love, brother. Thanks for coming through for sure. The Naja's with us with the wrench. Yeshua Reigns. I know, Yeshua. I know, but we'll get there, bro. We'll get there. Just a matter of time. Trapper Keeper, big shout outs to you. Dr. Earl was with us for a minute. Shout outs to the doctor, man. The good doctors out there doing the darn thing. Deontay Robinson, too. Thanks for coming through, my dude. Who else we got, man? There's more for sure. There is more. Who am I missing here? Gotta be a couple more folks here.
You try to get to them all, they're gonna feel like they're left out if you didn't. You don't get to them.
Derek Guy, man. Shout out to Derek. Derek was definitely all over the chat tonight, giving us some really good information. Romy was with us too. Shout out to you, Romy. Thanks for coming through and being a participant, being in the chat, doing the thing. Dante Purify. Yo, what it do, Dante? I ain't seen you in a minute. Thanks for coming through. Same with King Booker. Super No Maniac. King Booker World was in the building. Somehow he slipped past my radar, man.
OFG is up in here.
Oh, for sure. FFG. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for coming through. Always a contributor in the chat and on the.
I gotta pause. Howie R Bears. How long you been? How long you been watching the Nomad Network, man? That's all I want to. I'm gonna read what you said here. He said, "Y'all better study up on Charles Grant from William and Mary, 6'4", 6'5", 311 pound, 85-inch wingspan, and 35-inch arms." We did that just about a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And
slipping, Howie.
Yeah. And so yeah, we're gonna beat everybody to the punch. Howie, you want to check out the latest and who to be looking at in this draft, you came to the right place, man. And you want to talk about centers. I think that guy, Charles Grant, is probably the athleticism he's got and the firmness that he plays with really translate to center. And I mentioned that on the show a couple of weeks ago. So check that out if you want to look at a show. I think it was a week ago. I think we mentioned we brought up Charles Grant. So not this week, we just did Friday, but the week before that, look at that show and you can see what we had to say about Charles Grant. We all over that.
So shout outs to Alex Machado, shout outs to Paul Rodriguez, the homie. Big Laz was out there. Shout outs to you too, Laz. Victor Perez, Nick Rembert was with us too. Justice 792. Gotta be some more homies out there, man. Jason was down with us too tonight. Thanks for coming through, Jason. Big shout outs to you. Dennis Moody. Anyone else I'm missing out there? Oh, In the Grass was with us. Big shout outs to In the Grasp. Let me see, man. Am I missing anybody else?
Shout out to Marlon. He's giving us a shout out, saying good night. Shout out to all you guys, man.
Take it easy, Marlon, man. Ralph Love, shout outs to Ralph Love too. White Ghost was with us talking about Tyler Booker for sure. White Ghost got some crazy takes on stuff, but I like him. I like to hear him. Jedi Jada was out there too, holding it down with us. B Minor was with us too. Marco King, shout outs to you, Marco. Anyone else, man?
By the way, Marlon, one of my better friends growing up is named Marlon. And every time I see your name in there, I think about it, man. That motherfucker's crazy, man. He's crazy. To this day, he was crazy as a kid. He's crazy now. And every now and again, I get a call from his wife, and he'd be like, "Hey, man, come get your friend, man. Your friend out of line." I'm not saying that you're that kind of guy, Marlon, but every time I see your name, I think about my boy Marlon. That motherfucker's off the chain, man.
So AC Adam was with us. Mr. Mayhem was with us. Bears Junkie 55 Hall of Fame was out there. The Shy was down with us today. Black Diamond. Yeah, man, I think that just about sums up the totality of the No Maniacs and Super No Maniacs holding court in the chat. It's very important to us that you do exactly that. Please like, share, subscribe, and by all means become a member of the Nomad Network. Super fun to chop it up with you guys in that capacity, and definitely live and direct. So take it away, homeboy.
Hold on, man, because Scrolls asked a particular question, and I'm gonna give him a particular answer.
Okay.
And he says, when is your next show, your next live show? The next live show can happen anytime. There can be some breaking news, or I might decide to go live with FFG to do some kind of content. Or anything can happen, but on the schedule, it's there. You go.
Wednesday night, baby.
Wednesday night. That's when we're going live again. I'm gonna try to. We'll see. I think this part of the season, the offseason rather, is going to require us to. And I'm asking kids openly to be open to breaking news. If he's not available, we're gonna have to go live anyway. And so I think some stuff is gonna happen. I can't predict in the next 24, 48 hours or 36 hours. Something's gonna happen here soon, and I just feel it. And it's gonna be some big news, and we're gonna have to talk about it all, man. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know it's gonna happen. So you never know. But that's that, man. I want to say this too, man. When you're dealing with your mate, I wanted to say this before we get out of here. I wanted to say, when you're dealing with your mate, and the patience you need to have with your mate, just like the patience, like a lot of these people in this chat right here are guys. You know what I mean? And we think we all that. You know what I mean? And we don't think we have any flaws. And we think we're these perfect men, and we don't see us the way our mates see us, and the person you're spending all your time with and living with. She's taking care of you. You're trying to take care of her. I think we should really, really consider just being more considerate towards your mate, man. I mean, little things you can do around the home, the way you communicate. Let's just say you're one of those guys that don't like to, be out and about, and she likes to be out and about. Give in a little bit, compromise a little bit, is what I would say. Why am I saying this right now? No, man, we talking about football. Why are you talking about your mate and what you should do? Because as men, I think it's a constant. I think as your life trajectory, in my opinion, as a man, should be to constantly ascend. Constantly ascend. This is my opinion. If you want to be a really refined man, your goal should constantly be to ascend. And that is refining your technique as a person that's in a relationship. Relationships can go from, you could be in a situation where you just had kids, just got married, you had kids, they're grown, they're out of the house, and now you're trying to live life again with your mate and trying to figure out life from this point of view versus the point of view you had before you had kids. All that stuff is all refining who you are. I know this. You refine who you are in your home, and it's going to come out of you when you leave the house. And you're a better citizen in the world. You're better at everything in the world because you're refining, you're being conscientious about what you're putting out to the world. You're starting in your own home, in your own backyard with your mate, trying to be a better person. Hopefully, we're not talking to people that's, being literally physical with their mates. Hopefully, you're not doing that. That's caveman shit, But be smart, be emotionally responsible.
Unga bunga.
What'd you say?
Unga bunga.
Yeah. Yeah. But emotion, those guys that end up in those situations aren't emotionally where they need to be. They're not emotionally mature enough to handle, a little turmoil within their relationship. Once it gets to a point where it's physical, in my opinion, guys, I think it's time to go. It's time to start pulling up out of there. I'm not even gonna pull out of there. I'm gonna yank the fuck up out of there. Any relationship that I've ever been in, there won't be a woman in the world that will ever tell you that Nomad put his hands on it. I don't do that. And I'm not looking down on people that do it, but I am looking down on you because you can be way, way better than that shit. I've got homies that did it, had to go check them about it, and they've gotten better because they've learned how to communicate better. Usually that's a man that can't communicate past, I'm going to take this billy club and F you up because I want you to do what I tell you to do. And they can't rise above that. I'm just telling this to you guys in here. You can do way better than that. You just got to think. You just got to think. And if the situation is tight and you getting tight, got to learn to walk away from something. And if you come back into the situation and it's still tight, walk away again. If you go back a third time and it's still tight, it's time for you to get out of that relationship and walk away. Because if it's constantly tight and all that tension is going on around there, eventually you're gonna mess up not only her or him, whoever the hell you're dealing with. Eventually you're gonna do something really messed up, and it might be your own personal image. You got to work out here in this world, and everything you do is on record. You go get into some domestic stuff with your lady, it's going to the police station, and you got to deal with that. It's on your reports. And so all I'm saying to you is just try to get better as far as your communication goes. If you do that, your emotional maturity is going to naturally come. You can take a little, chirping in the ear and she's talking shit, get on out of there. Let her have it to herself. But if you don't engage in it, there's nobody to argue with. If it's physical, it's time to go. That's just how life is, man. You can't it never gets any better once it gets physical. It just goes downhill from there. It really does. There's no getting better.
Yeah, no, that's a terrible situation. Get yourself out of that situation. Been in situations like that. I am nowhere near those situations now. Why? No, I'm a fantastic communicator. I can communicate with the best of them and the worst of them. And at the same time, I have feet, so I can leave.
That's right. And I just thought I would say that to everybody, man.
My cousin is 0-6 against this girl. Scrolls kill me, man. Scrolls always gets me, man.
Hey, I just had to say that, man, because we all boys up in here and ladies that watch our stuff too. And I'm saying that in respect to you all, but we all boys. It's mostly boys that are communicating in this chat, and we all boys, and we should be able to have these kinds of conversations. I'm like this when I'm around my people, my friends. I just want to give you guys something that maybe you should consider, man. Maybe just get better in lines of communication. Until you get better, walk away from shit, man. Don't let it get physical. Once it gets physical, man, that's just not good for no kind of relationship, and you probably need to get out of it. I don't give a shit how much you love that girl. If y'all got 18 kids together, get the fuck away from her, man.
Just remember, guys, there's hotels and hookers, man. Just remember.
All right. I'm being serious, man, because we all homeboys up in there. It's funny stuff, but I just don't want. I just hate. I don't like guys that feel like being physical is the way to manage your relationship.
It's not. You can't do that because that may wind you up in the bin. Nobody wants to go to the bin over that, and that doesn't play right in the bin. I'm just saying. So hotels and hookers, worst come to worst. Use your feet.
Yeah. this ain't no good, man. It's really punk shit. But I ain't gonna get into all that. But you don't got to go there if you don't want to, man. You don't really got to go there.
Cigarettes and Wild Women, Illinois Jones.
Hey, you got to, a drink and a cigarette, cigar, whatever it is, could be a diamond in the rough for you when you're in a tight spot with your lady and she on you and she pressing your ass. She pressing you, kids, and she giving you shit. And it's probably accurate and true, the shit that she's giving you, but you need a break because she done got on your nerves and your blood pressure is high and you pissed off. Get the fuck out of that environment. That's pressurized situation. You got to get the fuck out of there.
I'm just saying.
Find you a drink and go find you a cigar, cigarette, whatever it is, and don't be tripping, man. I'm just saying this to close the show, kid.
Yeah, yes. I'm just saying that, like, I'm even going to suggest if you're going to do the whiskey, get the hotel first. Get the hell out of there. Use your feet. Get the hell out of there because Marlon's agreeing. Because sometimes the whiskey on top of the situation and the feelings can be an even worse situation. It may exacerbate that situation.
Hey, kids,
hotels and hookers, bro.
You know what's dangerous about this conversation is once she really got you on guard and got your blood pressure up and pissed off, 99.99% of the time, she's telling the goddamn truth and you can't stand it. She's telling you the goddamn truth and she's on your ass for a reason. But we're gonna close the show, kids, because I know that's making you. I can see this. I can read your shit digital across your fucking forehead or your hat. You thinking about it because she done pressed the button that they good at that, man. You got to know that they're good at that. They know where your weaknesses are. They fucking know you. And to let that trigger you, man, you weak as shit. I'm just saying. You can't let that get you physical about the shit. Walk the fuck away.
No. Like I said,
hell yeah, they
this particular arena, bro. I'm 1,000,000,000% with you. I know I'm cracking jokes and stuff because I'm a funny ass dude, but at the end of the day, I'm with you. By no stretch of the imagination can you put your hands on a woman, even if she hits you. Just leave.
Just
you
go.
can you know what I mean? You can take the hit. You can take the hit. I know y'all grown. Take the hit. Get out of there. Jump in the car. Go find a spot. Go to this. This is what the bar is for. You know what I mean? Go to the bar. Get some whiskey in you. Have a couple of smokes. Take a load off. And don't engage in those situations because the fact is, the engagement, especially if you're drinking, and this is what I'm saying, leave. The engagement if you're drinking at the house, boy, it can turn into something you don't recognize, right? When them buttons are pushed and that whiskey is flowing.
Hey, by the way, Howie, our Bears, check out that show. It might have been a week, 2 weeks ago, but check it out. It's one of them, one of the prospect shows. I can't remember, but yeah, check it out, man, and let me know what you think. Maybe I need to solo him out and do a single video on him. It's a short out there on Charles Grant from this network, and we focused on him quite a bit. I had quite a bit to say about that, but maybe I'll do a little video on him just by himself, and I'll get more into detail. But I thought it was a pretty good breakdown on the show, as much as I could give him. And we had like 20 other guys to talk about during that show, but maybe I'll solo him out because I think he's uber talented, man. Out of William and Mary, I think that guy is uber talented. But we got to get up out of here because we've been here, what is this, 3.5 hours now, pushing 4 hours. It was a good time. It doesn't seem like 3.5 hours. We had a good time doing it. It was fun, man. And so I got to leave you guys with these famous words. Please take heed to that advice, man. Somebody tonight, that girl is going to charge their ass up and going to press their ass. And you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to either carry the bag or fumble the shit. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Use your head. Get the fuck out of the situation.
Just tell her you've heard that there's hotels and hookers. And she's probably going to hit you, but then you'll start running and you'll be on your way. You're ready on the way out.
Don't get unalive trying to listen to kids' advice, man. Don't do that shit. But I got to leave you guys with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Do not, and I repeat, do not be a prisoner of your own mind. But with that being said, we are out.